Had lunch? Was everyone?
Good evening. The natural thing today to say is, how is everybody? But then what would you all say? Awesome, right?
Depends, it's tax day. I don't know.
Oh,
Sorry.
did everybody get done? Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. For those of you that are present in our audience and for those that are watching online, we always appreciate the participation of the public in our city council meetings. So thank you all for being here. We begin our meeting with prayer. And this evening to lead us in prayer is Pastor Monty Sears. I started saying, there is a Monty Ralston. Monty Sears with Christian Faith Center. And Monty, thank you. And I am so sorry, I can't believe it just rolled off. I know better.
Trust me, I've been called much worse.
Well, he's an amazing man. That's, yeah.
Okay. Well, Father, we love you. We come to you in Jesus' name. Week of all weeks, Holy Week, we thank you for a week of extremes. Betrayal, crucifixion, a death, a burial, a third day, a resurrection. And Lord, because you're alive, we can come to you and ask for wisdom. We thank you for this leadership that you have raised up. We thank you for our mayor, city council. We thank you for one of the greatest places to live in all of America, Nampa, Idaho, Canyon County. We pray that you'd continue to guide and direct us, and we thank you that you are alive. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Monty. And we have a young man with us this evening. Is it Aaron? Aaron's going to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Aaron, would you step to the mic and just give us your name and tell us why you're here? It's right there. Yes,
Hi, my name is Aaron, and I'm here for citizenship in the committee, and so that's why I'm here today.
Well, we appreciate you being with us. Thank you for coming. Thank you for educating yourself and learning, and thank you for leading us in the pledge.
So where are you, in life or life? Life, getting close to Eagle.
For my pledge is life.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Monty, thank you so much. So let's open the meeting with roll call.
Rodriguez?
Here.
Bruner?
Here.
Hogaboom?
Here.
Levi?
Present.
Haverfield?
Here.
Skog?
Here.
We do have a couple proposed amendments to the agenda this evening. We are going to remove item 501, which is the request for the Idaho Department of Juvenile Correction grant funds for Restorative Justice Practices Program for Breaking Chains Academy. I believe that one will come back. We're going to remove item number 510, which was authorizing U-turns on westbound Caldwell Boulevard, approach at Karcher Road, signal. And that's to authorize the ITD staff to create and install appropriate signage. That's going to come back also. So we're removing 5.1 and 5.10, and then we're moving public hearing 6.4 to be public hearing 6.1. We're moving the 6.4 public hearing up to be number 1. So those are the changes to our agenda. And are there any other suggested changes to our agenda this evening? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
So the first item on the agenda is a little different than normal. We have some special business that we're going to take care of right off the bat, and we're going to start with Tom Points. This is an action item, as we may recall from our staff report last meeting, and this is to authorize the Public Works Director to sign and submit a City of Nampa comment letter to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency on the revised definition of waters of the U.S.
Good evening, Mayor Council. So it is tax day, and it also happens to be the day that the EPA is expecting some comments on a draft rule change. So we'd like to talk to you about this letter that we put together. And the EPA has been asking for comments on the definition of the waters of the U.S., and this is a nationwide initiative. So there are cities all across the nation and citizens are submitting comments. And so we have a letter that in your packet for you to take a look at, and basically just kind of summarize what the changes are. a lot of the changes in the rule have to do with these excluding wetlands that are not connected to waters of the U.S., like in this diagram here, which wasn't a lot of meaning for a wastewater treatment plant, but what does mean something to us is the definition of a ditch. So a man-made ditch, like the Phyllis Canal, which you recall we are proposing to put reuse water into that Phyllis Canal. So in these rules, it gives more clarity on what a man-made ditch is and it not be waters of the U.S. So we think that these changes in that regard actually help our application and strengthen it. And we're in support of the changes, and that's basically what the letter says. It allows flexibility to put into ditches and also helps communities across the Treasure Valley that maybe want to do similar things with their wastewater into ditches. So the request is to authorize Public Works Director to submit the comment letter attached to the EPA. Just going to answer any questions.
I think you did a great letter. I think you did a really good job. And so if there are no questions, I would stand for a motion to approve the Public Works Director to sign and submit this letter.
So moved. Second.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Great job.
Okay.
You get to hit send. Yes.
Before the day's out.
Yeah.
So our second special business item this evening is a discussion of the National League of Cities Service Line Agreement, and Dennis is here with the company to speak to us this evening. And council, we had provided the full packet at the former council meeting. This time you have a hard copy packet in front of you, and Dennis is going to give us a little bit of information and is here to answer any questions you might have regarding the service line program and the benefits to our local community. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to speak to you and have the opportunity to address any questions that you may have about the program and give you kind of an oversight again as to what it is. As Mayor Kling mentioned, it's the National League of Cities Service Line Program, which is the only service line program that's endorsed by the National League of Cities as well as 16 state leagues. I work for a company called Utility Service Partners, so I think it's important that you know a little bit about us. We have been offering the service that is proactively educating homeowners on their water and sewer line responsibilities, as well as then providing them voluntary protection that they can put on those lines for 16 years now. We've had the National League of Cities endorsement since 2010. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We have maintained a customer satisfaction rating of 95% or higher for the last 11 consecutive years. And we've also twice been awarded the Torch Award for Marketplace Ethics from the Southwestern Pennsylvania Better Business Bureau, which is something that we're very proud of. We won that award in 2013 and then again in 2018. So the focus of our program is to be completely transparent and ethical and work in a partnership with a city in order to proactively educate homeowners on their responsibility. So I'm going to kind of go through some of that and then talk about some of the reasons why our program is important to a community. Excuse me. One thing I'd like to point out, because I'm often asked, why is there a need for our program in a community? Well, we conduct a Harris poll, and 80% of respondents to that Harris poll either strongly or somewhat agreed with the statement that they feel like it's up to the local government to at least educate them as to what their service line responsibilities are. They just want to know what they're responsible for, so they're not finding out at the worst possible moment. So I think that 80% responded is a testament to what it is our program can provide. So to just kind of run through what it is we do, again, we educate homeowners on the infrastructure issues, what they're responsible for on the public side. The same issues occur on the private side as far as climate and soil conditions and so on. There's absolutely no cost to the city to participate. We administer it with a complete turnkey approach, so we handle the marketing, the billing, the claims, and the customer service. There is an ongoing revenue stream that's a component of the program, as well as something that I know is of interest to you here in Nampa. There's a component of our program that would provide an allowance that would cover your dues for NLC membership for 3 years. So I know there's a strong interest in finding out how you can benefit from the NLC. This is an opportunity to do that without having to invest in those dues. Ultimately, the way to think of our program is as a free public awareness campaign. When we proactively educate those homeowners as to their responsibility, what it should do at a bare minimum is cut down on the number of calls that you all receive from homeowners when they have an issue with their water or sewer line. Excuse me. We do that by direct mail only, so there's no telemarketers, no individuals going door to door disturbing your homeowners. Everything that we mail is approved by the city before it's ever sent out to any homeowner. So you have the opportunity to review and even make suggestions as to what's contained in that material before it's sent. We only utilize local, licensed, heavily vetted contractors. So when you would agree to make our program available in your community, we reach out to contractors, and what we do is we make sure that they're licensed, bonded, insured, have all the necessary equipment available to make the repairs. No open complaints with the Better Business Bureau, and then we go a step further and we conduct background checks and drug screens on the individuals that work for those companies. We do this for 3 reasons. We want you as city officials to be comfortable with who it is we're sending out in your community to perform these repairs. We want homeowners to be comfortable with who's showing up on their property to perform these repairs. And as a business, we want to be comfortable as well because we have a reputation at stake. Our entire business model rests on us doing this the right way. So we make sure that those contractors are very stringently vetted. And the other benefit to using local contractors is they know all the local codes and what permits they need and so on. So as public works directors like to say, everything's done right the first time. Excuse me. So we offer 3 different types of protection, and they're all completely voluntary and separate. Homeowners can choose any combination they like. So external water line coverage and external sewer line coverage would cover anything from a broken, cracked, or leaking pipe, tree root penetration, frozen external water lines that need to be thawed, as well as even clogs that need to be cleared out. $8,500 per occurrence. No service fees, no deductibles, no annual or lifetime limits, no limits in the number of claims that a homeowner can have in a year. The internal plumbing coverage then is for all water, sewer, and drain lines that are inside the home after the point of entry, and that covers up to $3,000 per occurrence. Everything else is the same. No service fees, no deductibles, et cetera. We don't do long-term contracts with homeowners. Everything's on a month-to-month basis. They can opt out at any time they would like. We don't do a pre-inspection of the property after a 30-day waiting period. Once they've enrolled, their coverage begins. Excuse me. I wanted to talk a little bit about the royalty program. The way that would work is the city would receive 50 cents per month per each one of those paid royalty agreements, and that's paid out in the form of a royalty every January. That revenue is for the city to use wherever you best see fit. So just some examples. Orem, Utah used that, they donate it to a local charity every year. However, a couple of years ago, they used it towards funding an All Abilities playground that they constructed in their community. You can use it for low-income utility assistance programs, which I believe you have one in place. So you can put funding towards that or offsetting the cost of water bill or really wherever you see a need for it. You also have the option to decline that revenue component. In that case, what a homeowner pays would decrease by 50 cents per month on each one of those products. Excuse me. So I wanted to talk a little bit, I mean, that's kind of an overview. I know my time is a bit abbreviated in what I typically do when I delve into some of the specifics. But this piece here, and I understand it's really hard to see for people back there, and I do apologize, it's a bit washed out. But this kind of hits on some of the key reasons why our program can benefit a community as well. And we call it myths versus facts because it's really a very simple piece. The number one takeaway from this is it's not a question of if infrastructure is going to fail, it's a question of when, because it is going to fail, and that's just a fact. Part of the myth is that risk of these kinds of issues happening is low. The fact is there's an estimated 240,000 water main breaks across the United States every year. Obviously, that's on the public side. The private side is subject to all the same stresses and conditions as what you would have on the public side. One of the myths is that homeowners believe that the broken water or sewer line is going to be covered by their homeowner's insurance. The fact is, it typically is not. The damage caused by that would be covered, but the lines themselves typically are not. Another myth, and I know some of you have experience with this, is a homeowner believes that the city covers what's on their property. That's a myth. The fact is, the homeowner is responsible for what it is that's on their property. And then another myth is that climates without extreme conditions aren't subject to, cities with climates that don't go through extreme conditions aren't as susceptible to these types of issues. But the fact is, they're still susceptible to things like root penetration, soil conditions, construction materials, and so on. So there are all these issues that affect the public side that also affect the private side, and that's where our program comes in, is it addresses those issues and gives homeowners a completely voluntary option to decide whether or not they want to protect themselves against some type of catastrophic issue. And I'd like to share one of those, if I may. There's a little town in Washington called Dayton. They're a city that I brought on board a little over a year ago. They're a very tiny town. We probably mailed to about 800 households there. And every month, I get what's called a claims report that shows what we've paid out in claims for homeowners. And I noticed after a couple months in the program, there was a payout of $7,900 in Dayton. And what it turns out is a homeowner there had a sewer line that completely collapsed and failed, and the total cost of replacing that sewer line was $7,900. Our program covers up to $8,500 per occurrence, so that homeowner paid absolutely nothing towards the repair and the replacement of that sewer line. What I also noticed a few weeks later is a spike in enrollments in Dayton, Washington, because I know that homeowner went out and told people what it is they experienced with our program, and as a result, they saw the value in what it could provide to them. So with that being said, I know it was kind of abbreviated, but if there are any questions that you have, any concerns?
Councilman Haverfield.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Dennis Lyon, Lyon.
Thank you, Dennis. Just a quick question. The main line, which is the city's line, you're not talking about any repairs to it, correct?
Correct.
It's only the private extension from the main line to the house.
Correct.
If the break takes place under the house, are you responsible for that as well?
Yes. So though, if you don't mind, I have what the terms are here, so I'm getting this right. So my understanding here is, and I'm sorry, this is really hard for me to see. So the homeowner responsibility on the water line here is from the curb stop, correct, to the wall of the home? Okay, so.
So from the meter to the home or from
Is
the,
it the meter? Okay, so we'd have to adjust that, and that doesn't change the pricing at all for the resident. So from the meter to the home for the water, and from the main to where the line enters the home for the sewer, correct? Okay, and then the internal plumbing coverage is from everything from the wall of the home inside.
okay, to the fixtures themselves then?
Not the fixtures, our coverage is just for the lines themselves.
Up to the fixtures, though?
Yes, up to the fixtures,
Okay.
yes.
And then you stated that the royalty fees, or whatever you called those, 50 cents per month per home. Is it
Paid agreement.
per paid agreement? That was only if we chose to allow you to use City of Nampa logos? Is that correct?
That is part of the component of the program, but part of the consideration is the free public awareness that we're providing, the educational component, so that factors into that logo use as well. So our program is only available in a community that has agreed to partner with us and allows us to use the logo and a generic signature from the city on that marketing material.
Okay, so if we choose not to, then we'd forego that, correct?
Well, we wouldn't be entering into agreement to even provide this service.
Okay.
But the one thing that they do is that there is no material that goes out without our approval. So we will give full approval to any document that is submitted to the public is approved through our office. So they can't use anything inappropriately because it has to be approved through our office.
So Mayor, that's my question. Is that considered partnering then, if they're allowing us to oversee what's going out?
Is it considered partnering? I'm trying to think about.
That was the threshold that was stated as far as to receive that royalty.
Well, we would be partnering in that they would use our name, and it would be, I'm going to use the word endorsed, and maybe it isn't endorsed, but there is a form of endorsement with it, because no one else in the service line program, we're not partnering, that would be that word, partnering with anyone else to provide this service.
Okay.
So, because we are approving it.
So it's a sole
We would be
source then.
approving it.
So I guess my question then goes back, what is the average monthly cost then to the homeowner?
So in this case, if you participated in the royalty component, the water line coverage, and I see they switched prices around on the term sheet, so I'll have to get that fixed as well. They have water and sewer flip-flop. Water line coverage is $5.75 per month. Sewer line coverage would be $7.75 per month, and the in-home plumbing would be $9.99 per month. If you forego that royalty, each of those would decrease by 50 cents.
Each one?
Correct.
And then they're, just for clarity, they can choose any one of the three, or they can choose all three, is that correct?
Correct. They can choose any combination that they would like. They can also enroll in whatever manner they would like. So we send out a form with a letter. Some people like to fill out the form that comes with the letter. Some people prefer to call us. Some people prefer to go online. So we're not funneling them towards any one way of participating. So it's completely voluntary to the homeowner. The information that we send out is also very explicit to them that it's voluntary, the products are separate, and it's offered by an outside company through the partnership with the city, not by the city itself, and all information directs them to contact us with any type of questions that they may have.
Okay. And my final question then is, so it's basically an insurance policy that they're purchasing, is that correct?
Warranty, because they're not paying and then submitting for reimbursement. We pay the contractor directly.
Okay. So do you see that your monthly costs, do they fluctuate with the economy, or do they stay relatively flat? Or do you see that if someone were to sign up for this, that 3 years from now, 2 years from now, that they're going to see a spike in their rates?
And that's a very good question. The agreement stipulates that we cannot increase the price of any one product more than 50 cents in a month per 12-month period. I can tell you the water and sewer product have not changed in price over 5 years because we're able to provide this at a price point so that individuals who are the most vulnerable financially to experiencing these kinds of issues can participate. The in-home plumbing coverage did see an increase, and that's because when it was initially introduced, it was way underpriced and it was incredibly popular, and they said, well, we need to find a balance. As I'm sure you can understand why you would want to do that. You need to find that area where you can provide a service, but at the same time be able to afford to provide that service.
Sure. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank
And
you.
Madam Mayor, a
Yes.
few questions. Neighboring cities that are using your program, Boise, Caldwell?
Currently in Idaho, we're working with Victor, very small town that, honestly, I'm not even quite sure what their
I'm
proximity
not
is.
even sure if
to-
Victor is.
Yeah, they're small.
Yeah, they're a very, very tiny little town, but they learned about the program the same way through the NLC.
Okay.
And they were excited about it, and I had meetings with the mayor, and they approved it.
Okay, second question.
So
Go
it-
ahead.
And surrounding
Let's
states.
finish the answer to that, because you're involved in working with the it'd be the equivalent to the Association of Idaho Cities in every state around us. We're the one that hasn't adopted the program. We're the outlier right now. But I believe you were saying Nevada,
Yeah, so
Utah.
we're endorsed by the League of Oregon Cities. I was just at a conference last week there, actually. The Nevada State League, the Utah State League, the Montana State League, and I feel like there's one that I'm leaving out that is around you all as well. But at any rate, we're endorsed by 16 state leagues overall, and
Yeah,
there
I
are
read-
several of
I
them
read
that
And
surround.
650 municipalities across the
Yeah,
United States.
so, I mean,
Correct.
yeah, you have a record, I understand
Yes.
that. So, second question, I know there's never apples to apples, but municipality of about our size, 100,000 or so, how many signups would you have, say, in your first year?
Generally, what we're comfortable saying is that after 3 years of participation,
Okay.
you should see about a 20% Now, that's going to vary dependent upon, obviously environmental factors, age of infrastructure, and so on.
Not apples to apples.
Yeah, so it's hard for us to put a finger on that specifically, but what we're comfortable saying is 20% after about 3 years.
And since I'm not a mathematician, Councilman Hogaboom, so if we had 20,000, what would be the royalty?
20% of 35,000 residents, roughly?
I think there's
About
39,000. Are there
39,000.
39,000 households
Yeah.
So about
that we provide service to approximately? So if you did,
8,000, 50 cents each, about 4,000,
Okay.
maybe, roughly.
And so, I mean, my approach on this would be go ahead and give the citizens the break rather than us taking the royalty. That would be what I would be in favor of. The other question, Mayor, is we see all the pieces, all the marketing pieces that go out. So we also control the quantity of pieces, correct?
well, I'll let you answer that, how we
Okay.
work with that, because you do send one to every household, but remind me how many mailings you do in a year?
The number that I have for Napa is roughly 28,000 households that we would be mailing to. There's no benefit to mailing to renters, of course, and then apartment buildings and so on. So we mail specifically to the property owner. So in the case of landlords even who own single-family homes, we mail to that landlord and they can protect their properties as well. So we do a maximum of 3 mail campaigns per year. That's typically going to be in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And each one of those campaigns is comprised of 2 mailings. So a total of 6 letters per year is what we would mail to homeowners.
And do you ever partner with the city as far as actually including in the billing itself? Do any of your mailings ever go in with the billing from your municipality?
Cities can do that on their own, but we have our own marketing function. We use our own print and distribution type facilities for that. But if cities are interested in that, we can provide information or FAQs that you can include in like a newsletter or what have
And I
you.
can only speak for myself, but I would be more apt if I opened up a bill and saw something on that, more apt to read it than just have another piece of mail that hits my mailbox, so, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Lyon, and I apologize if I don't remember correctly, at the very beginning of your presentation, are there other companies that do what you do?
There are a few. On a national level, really, there are only 2. And we're the only program, the only company that makes it available through this partnership method. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One of them, is because when the NLC looked into these types of programs and did their vetting, because they wanted to find one that they could put their name on to make available to cities all across the U.S., we were the company they chose, and one of the requirements, of course, was that we continue to operate in this partnership method and have this level of transparency. And the other reason is the partnership with the city is what creates an economy of scale that allows us to offer the best benefits at the lowest rates that we possibly can. So really the way it works is when homeowners see that a city is aware of the program and has vetted the program, they're more likely to look into it. When they see the benefits that we provide, they're more likely to participate. So the other company on a national level that offers doesn't make it available in the same manner.
Thank you. And then it says a month-to-month contract rather than a long-term contract. What do you see as the benefit of that in the long run? Because I'm kind of weighing that back and forth as far as, somebody has a month-to-month and then it breaks, or they kind of play off and on, and one month they're going to have it and the next they're not. How does that work?
The benefit there is homeowners typically don't want to be locked into something that maybe at some point they decide they don't want to be part of anymore. So we have found that participation, since it's on a month-to-month basis, I mean, they can set up recurring payments or however they want to do that, but we found that by giving them that flexibility, they're more likely to participate as well. And I know what you're probably thinking, and it happens probably hundreds of times every day. Somebody files a claim, we do the work for them, and they drop out of the coverage. It does happen, and it's just the cost of doing business.
Oh, I have another question and it just kind of flew away. It might come back. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, Councilman Hoagland?
Yeah, quick one. In reviewing the packet, it seems like the 3 mailings is the maximum in the only way you would be communicating, is that correct?
Correct.
So there won't be robocalls or cold calls? Okay.
Absolutely
all right.
not. The only calls that we would make, and this is with the city's permission beforehand, and we discuss it at the time that the agreement has been made, is homeowners who enroll. We send them out a welcome packet, and then we'll also make, with your permission, a welcome call to that homeowner who has enrolled, just to go through the materials, explain, how to file a claim and so on. But some cities don't even want us to do that, so we don't.
Okay, I appreciate that the mayor's office would oversee the mailings with the approval of the city, so I just wanted to make sure there wasn't phone calls where residents would be confused that a city employee is somehow calling, so.
No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
all right.
Okay, are there further questions? Woman Levi?
Thank you, Mayor. I thought of my question. So how does a person get out of the month to month? They just don't pay it the following month?
That does happen. There's not anything formal they have to do. They could just stop paying. Some people will call to cancel. So if they cancel during a partial month, they'll be, reimbursed a prorated amount that they had paid. Because we do also make available that they can pay quarterly or yearly, and there's a 10% discount associated with that. So if somebody were to pay a year in advance, but after 3 months they decided they wanted out, they're going to be prorated those 9 months that they weren't part of the program, and that would be refunded to them.
Thank you. I'll reserve my other questions for deliberation.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Dennis, I want to say thank you for making the trip here. I appreciate you coming. Needless to say, I brought this forward because I was introduced to it at the National League of Cities, and I was impressed with what I saw and heard. And I thought it could be a benefit to our citizens because in the mayor's office, in this last year, we've received a number of calls from people that did have a breakage and they did not understand that the city didn't cover that. And so they had significant expense. So from my perspective, because of what I've heard regarding the program, it would be a wonderful benefit to our citizens, one, to receive the education, and two, to be given the opportunity. But with that, if there are no further questions, thank you very much. Appreciate your time being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the fact that I had the time to be here and the invitation as well. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I believe the mayor has my contact information, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have
Thank
a great
you.
evening. Thank you.
So what is the thought on the council?
Mayor?
Yes.
I appreciate the gentleman's presentation very much, and I can see the need for something like that. And as I discussed clear back when we've talked about LIDs, et cetera, that our citizens are very confused as to what they're responsible for, what they're not, what they need to do to maintain things like do they shovel the walk, can their garbage can be on the walk, et cetera. And I can't remember if I had mentioned it before, but I really believe it's important that we look as a city as to how are we going to educate our customers, whether when they're coming and signing up for a service, or those obviously that have an existing service and still don't know, do we tuck something in their bills so that they have the opportunity to know those things ahead of time. And in this instance, because it does get costly if something breaks, to allow them the time to be preparing, to be proactive, so when this happens, that they have the monies there to take care of it. One of the things that I was kind of concerned about, and I apologize, it's a little bit lengthy, but if the city endorses this, says we're approving of them as a business, and do we do that with any other businesses? I know like the Better Business Bureau does that, and that seal means something, but do we do it with anyone else? And if we don't, this is setting a precedence. And so we really have to look at that. Let me bring my other notes up here. One of the things that I would like to see us do in utility billing is that we have a list of approved providers of the different services, not necessarily endorsing one over another. Again, because I think that gets us into a little bit of a gray area in the future with other businesses, but yet at the same time, I totally understand the benefit of this service. And then I think this would actually go to legal as I'm looking at the contract. And I'm just scrolling there now. At the bottom of page 1 and onto page 2, it talks about the terms. And it's clear at the first, and then it starts to get muddy, where it says, "The term of this agreement term shall be for 3 years from the effective date. The agreement will automatically renew for an additional 1-year term, renewal term, unless one of the parties gives the other written notice at least 90 days prior to the end of the term of the renewal, et cetera." And then it goes down to talking about the 30 days and the breach, and then if it's not cured in 30 days, that it continues on. So is there like a cutoff point?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Levi, that term was a little bit confusing to me. As I read it, it's a 3-year term that can be terminated only by giving 90 days advance notice. If there is a default, which means there's some kind of breach of the agreement, then either party can terminate on 30 days' notice. But that 30 days is provided to give the breaching party the opportunity to cure that breach. If the breach is cured, then the contract continues till properly terminated on the 3-year anniversary or subsequent anniversary if not terminated. So it makes sense to me. It could be more concise. But does that answer your question?
It does, but I guess because of the part where it kind of gets a little bit cloudy is, well, if it didn't get cleared up to 30 days, it goes another 30 days. Then it can go another 30 days, and so where's the definite cutoff?
I didn't see that in here. It says, "In the event that the company is in material breach of the agreement, the city may terminate the agreement 30 days after giving written notice to the company of such breach if the said breach is not cured during the said 30-day period." Just, it's done. If they don't
Then it's
cure,
done.
it's done.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And it's stated in
Right, it's
reverse.
just the way, yeah, it's the first sentence.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments, and what's the thought of the council? We don't have to take action tonight, although it would be nice to make a decision.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Fellow council members, I still haven't been able to research this as much as I'd like and appreciate the presentation. But Councilman Levi brings up an issue of concern for me. Using the city logo on any business, I'd like to have one for my law office with the city logo on it. And I think this councilman would like to have one for his architect business, and maybe, and then you would like that for the college. I think they'd be preferred. So that is a concern for me, using the city logo. And if it was used, be sure we use the logo and not the city seal. We have to guard that. So those are my thoughts.
Any further comments?
I'll just
Councilman.
make brief comments. Anything we can help our citizens with and provide them a financial benefit, and it's totally free of their choice, I'm in favor of that. I repeat, as I said earlier, if it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, even though it's only 50 cents per coverage for the 3, I say take that off the citizens' bill. We should not be taking that royalty. So that would be my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Councilman Hogaboam?
I share Councilman Bruner's general sentiments that the status quo is offering our citizens nothing and a lot of confusion. I trust in the discretion and the ability of our residents to make a decision whether they want to buy it or not. The royalty, I can go either way on that. I think the way it's written here is that it'd be brought to us. I would enjoy the discretion. I think our citizens could use the 50-cent break, but I think it would be neat to also maybe expedite some playground development over at Midway Park or some of the other parks. So I would maybe we can return that 50 cents maybe the following year, but I would like to maybe deliberate.
That'd be fine. I'm just,
Yeah.
playground equipment takes a long time for a $4,000 per year.
Yeah, and if we get a couple thousand residents at 50 cents a month, that'd be, a modest investment of about $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month, so $12,000 to $24,000 a year that can maybe be allocated for a worthy cause in our city. Yeah, so I think it's a win-win. I also share Councilman Skogg's concern about the city logo, so I know there's a distinction between the seal and the logo. I also see that an official, I assume the mayor would sign, and as long as your signature is informational in context to those who are receiving the letter, and it's absolutely clear, as stated in here, that there is no obligation for people to, I just don't want people confused that this is a bill from the city that they have to pay. So as long as all of that's explicitly clear, I would trust the mayor and her office to oversee the distribution of materials. So I'd be okay.
Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we enter into discussion and for a contract, and I'm sorry, with the name of this company. What's the name of the company?
National League of Cities, NLC.
Nat- Okay.
The Service
right?
Line Warranties
Service-
Program of America.
Because you work for a certain entity, though. That's what I was
I work for a company called Utility Service Partners.
that's what I was trying to remember and was not. Utility Services Partners, okay.
Is there a second?
Question.
Okay, we
Okay.
would need to
You haven't
get a
seconded yet.
second. If there is a second,
Okay.
and then we'll go to discussion.
I will second for the sake of discussion.
Okay, so discussion.
This is voluntarily, that's correct. And I'm okay with that if the people want that in their homes. I am still just a little bit concerned with Councilman Scogg's issues, and I agree with that. So if we could figure out a way to fine tune this, I think it would be good, Mayor.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I hear is the concern over, and it's something that we would talk about, is the publication, what is being submitted to the citizens and what it says.
That's correct. That's correct.
And we could certainly allow council the opportunity to view it to help resolve any concerns.
Exactly.
Like
Now,
that.
and also, would this turn into a public hearing or not?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman, excuse me, Councilwoman Levi, and then Councilman Haverfield, excuse
Okay.
me.
Thank you. I agree that we should have the opportunity out there to save our citizens money when possible. We need to also educate them, but I still am not in agreement with it being a partnership with the city. We can give them the information, give them the education, and then let them decide from there.
Mayor Kling, do you mind if Debbie reads the motion or conveys back what the motion was?
Okay, if you could. Do you remember, would you like to restate your motion that you,
You want me to remember from that far
Yeah.
back?
I believe you moved
I
that we
moved
enter into it.
Into the contract with the utility services.
With the royalties going back to the people, right?
What?
With the
I
royalties.
didn't say
Oh,
anything
you
in
didn't?
my
Okay.
motion as far as the royalties. That was totally
With
discussion.
Utility Service Partners, private label,
Yeah, and
for
I-
the service line warranties.
And if we're still in the discussion point, I am totally, yes, it needs to come back to council and exactly how the partnership's going to be and so on, if it is going to be a partnership. But as far as them providing the service and our city employees not having to deal with this, they are professionals. If they have a track record, then that's why I'm making a motion.
So, so to be clear, I'm sorry, Mayor Kling, so to be clear, your motion is to enter into an understanding, but not with the city taking on, giving away our city seal or a participation or taking on a royalty. That's your
And
motion.
that's to be determined. I'm just saying that we're going to enter in with a contract with utility services.
Well, that's where I can't support your motion then, because I'd like to be more clear that that's your intent, is it would not include a royalty. That that we're not going to encumber a citizen or, another 50 cents per home per month. I think I heard you say that wasn't your intention, that we
No,
wouldn't be.
I would not be voting for that, but I felt like that would be for further discussion.
But the motion tonight is to enter an agreement. I think we need to be clear on what your motion is or doesn't, or has in it or doesn't have in it. Councilman Hogaboom's opinion was that it should include it in the discussion. That was my understanding, to be used for.
I am fine, if it's okay with as far as legal, to amend my motion that it would not include a royalty. I don't think we're going to be able to include every little thing, and also I do not want the city seal. And there's probably a few other things that we could think of down the line, but I was not going to clutter it with all that at this point in time.
So is that the understanding of the second?
Yeah, I seconded for sake of conversation. I support I also understand that the language here is different than what was stated by the gentleman who said that there was rates that were misstated, flip-flopped, I think, to use your language. So I don't want to have to revisit this in another council meeting if not necessary. So I am hoping my second is to support entering into an agreement to allow the mayor to work on, as the terms are presented, and to clarify at least that cost, the two costs that were flip-flopped. The 50 cents a month I thought could be left up to our discretion at the aggregate payout at the end of the year. And if we want to use that on something, great. If not, then we can drop it for the following year. So
I can't support your motion then. I mean, what you're saying are two different things. It's not,
Well,
at least in my mind, I'm not
Correct.
clear on what you're trying to say.
So the motion did not include the 50 cents. That said, I think my understanding was that we would come back and revisit, we would enter into agreement, and then the council would come back and revisit whether or not they chose to move forward with the 50 cents or not move forward, because we still have to walk through the agreement process.
Okay.
And so we could come back and revisit that isn't the defining
Yes.
decision tonight. The decision is, do we want to enter into agreement? I think it might be wise for us as a council to consider what those options are, because one of the options and the benefits I see is that we currently have a low-income utility assistance program that has no funds in it. We have a senior center discount that is $1 that's not helping our citizens. If we had a mechanism, and maybe we could just do some general input from the citizens, but a mechanism to fund our low-income citizen utility assistance program, that might be a wonderful benefit to our community as a whole, to offset their utility costs while we're doing the increases to our wastewater program. And each year, we've got increases going into both irrigation water, domestic water, and wastewater. And so if we had a funding mechanism to help provide assistance, that might be a wonderful asset to our community. And so I guess I would, if you don't mind, Councilman Haverfield, the consideration to maybe take a look at that.
And that's fine with me. I just, in going back and what Councilman Hogaboom mentioned was that we wouldn't revisit. Now we're talking about that we would revisit. He didn't want that to come back. So to be clear, the motion was to bring it back before council.
For conditions.
For conditions.
Madam Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, I would not be happy with this motion if we were not going to revisit it and discuss conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then let's come back to us, excuse me?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to add, as I listened to the motion, I heard it as one to approve the concept, but understanding that a contract had to be brought back for final approval. This contract already has a significant error in it that needs to be switched. Perhaps we could clean up the term language, maybe even shorten it a bit. But in other words, I interpret the motion as, I like the idea, staff go negotiate it, bring it back for final approval, if that's any clarification.
Madam Mayor, that's why he's an attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the motion being, as you stated, and then is there a second? Are you you would?
yeah, and the second, what I meant was to revisit the entire thing, have the gentleman come back and present. So I said
Wait.
for further deliberation on the details, which I was granting discretion to the mayor and the staff on some of the language and overseeing stuff. A lot of the stuff in here included some discretionary oversight on the language that went out. So I don't think the council's going to have to approve every single time a mailing goes out. We're going to have
No.
a council meeting and every single 3 times a year to go over every single language and approve the letter. So I think that included within this is some discretion that I'm okay with granting to the mayor.
So we'll bring back, based on the discussion I just heard and the motion, we will bring the agreement back for final approval by the council. Is that correct?
We're ready for a vote?
That was the motion, absolutely.
Okay.
The alternative being,
Thank
don't
you.
bring it back. So,
Right. Okay. If there's no further discussion, then we would do roll call.
Rodriguez?
No.
Levi?
No.
Haverfield?
She's not looking at me. I'll vote yes.
Skog,
No.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
I believe that's a tie. That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm going to vote yes because I did bring it forward, but we will absolutely come back and have another discussion, which will give the council the opportunity to approve and not approve the agreement. So,
It's going to be a long night, guys.
yeah, this was the beginning, yes. Dennis, thank you for making the trip. We will stay in touch regarding the language of the agreement, and we'll go from there, and then we'll get it back to the council.
Absolutely. I'll submit those requests and get them revised. I'll provide you with a royalty and non-royalty.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is proclamations, and we do not have any proclamations this evening. And then next on the agenda is the Nampa resident wishing to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item. Darren, thank you for bringing that forward. Do we have someone on there? We do. And Darren, it's you. I remembered that from this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darren. And I did ask Darren if he would take just a moment and share with us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to bring some exciting news about the Nampa Recreation Center. This month, we're celebrating 25 years in existence, and so we're very proud of the Recreation Center and what it means to the Nampa community. One of the things that we've done is we've put together a schedule on celebrating our events. As you'll see, we have a step fitness class that goes back to the 90s. We have a 25th anniversary reception on April 25th, movie night in the pools, and then a wellness fair, and it's a free day on April 27th to the whole community. But one of the things that we wanted to do is really pay special attention to the charter members that bought 25 years ago and our business partners and community partners. And so we've invited all of the community to our celebration on the 25th. We're inviting you too. You may have received a notice in the mail, so we hope that you'll be able to come. But we really want to give a lot of recognition to our charter members. 25 years ago, we bought all charter members a bag. It was a gray bag, if you'll remember. And so this year, we bought 700 bags for the charter members that are still here, and we'll be handing these out. We have been handing them out. And so 25 years later, they get updated with a new bag. And that's just to say thank you for paying us and contributing the past 25 years. And so thank you for your support. I thought I would just mention when the rec center was dedicated 25 years ago, it was Winston Garing was the mayor. And during the dedication, it was Dick Claiborne was a council member, Maxine Horn, Linda Clark, and Ernie Starr. And so it brings back memories of when they were here, and they were just great support. And just like this council here has been great support. So we hope to see you there.
And Darren, I would like to say that Darren is also celebrating 25 years with us.
That's what I was going to ask if he was
Yes.
there.
He joined us 25 years ago. Okay, so who's sitting here as a charter member?
Mayor Kling. I was a charter member, but there was a downturn in the economy.
And you know, Randy, I was too, and I regret that I didn't continue it. So yes, I was a charter member too, but the only continuing one up here is Debbie. Yeah?
Really?
Well, thank you.
I'm not going to get a bag.
Thank you very much.
Will you get a
Yeah.
bag, Debbie?
No, I don't, because I missed the bag.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so Kirk Carpenter, is Kirk here? Not accustomed to getting to have you here for the 3-minute comments.
Hey, I'm going to keep it under 3 minutes. So actually, Amy Bowman reminded me today that it would be a good idea for me to get up in front of you. And if you haven't heard, the city of Nampa got some exciting news that the Red Cross chose our community to be a recipient of basically a grant program for smoke detectors. So the Nampa Fire Department, Red Cross, and other business partners are going to get together on April 26th and 27th to go forward with an effort to make Nampa safer. And really, right now, we're just making it aware and on your calendar and everyone that's here, hopefully all those listening online, that we are in the process of starting to look for our volunteers that are going to join us in this effort. So Red Cross is really looking for quite a few volunteers. We're hoping to have around 170 able-bodied people, as well as bilingual people to assist us when we go out into the community. And the goal is to install over 600 smoke detectors in the community. So
So, Madam Mayor, Chief, is there a height requirement? No OSHA ladders or?
we'll have some firefighters out there to hold ladders. It'll be good. It'll be good.
So
It would be
anyone
great
can
to get some
volunteer.
taller gentlemen out there that don't need a ladder.
Remember, I can't jump though, so.
What day was this again?
This is going to be Friday, April 26th, and Saturday, the 27th. Amy's going to be sending out some public announcements, both in efforts to find volunteers as well as getting information out to our community if there's someone out there that needs smoke detectors that hasn't already taken advantage of our city's program that we already have. So these are
Thank you.
free, so that's much better than what we're doing. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else that had intended to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item? Seeing none, we will move on, and this is the opportunity for mayor and council comments, and I have no additional comments this evening. Does anyone have anything they need to cover? Okay, so it is 1 minute till 7, but we do have a report by Ide Bailey, and so out of courtesy to not have Morgan sit here till the end of the evening, it might be good, is Morgan Browning here? So I'm not sure how long your presentation is, but I would rather, I think we'll go ahead and have you present now. That way you don't have to sit here for another hour.
No problem. Appreciate that. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Morgan Browning. I'm an audit manager with Ide Bailey. I'm here with you guys this evening to present the results of the fiscal year 2018 audit. I'm going to focus, my plan was to focus on the reports that we issue. We issue 3 reports. The reports lay out our objectives of our audit and the conclusions that we reached, and so I'm going to summarize those. The City of Nampa prepares the CAFR, we audit the CAFR, and we accumulate sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to serve as a basis for our audit opinion. And so this first report is the independent auditor's report. It's on pages 9 through 11. It discusses our responsibilities, it discusses the city's responsibilities, and then on page 10 of that report, that is where our opinion is expressed. So the opinion that we're rendering for the City of Nampa is called an unmodified opinion. What it says is that we were able to accumulate sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, and we believe that the financial statement amounts are fairly stated in all material respects. So it's the only opinion that I think the city has ever received since I've been here and before. So congratulations for that continued success. The next report, the last paragraph of this report, it references a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. So during the course of our audit, we plan the audit in such a way that we evaluate internal controls, and then if internal controls are operating effectively, in some cases we'll rely on those for purposes of auditing. So the important line that I want to draw is that we don't express an opinion on your internal controls, but we do evaluate those, which is the purpose of that report. There's actually 2 purposes, one that pertains to internal control over financial reporting and one on compliance. We didn't note any compliance issues with the City of Nampa. We're required to look at compliance with state regulations and laws, and also contracts and grant agreements, and we do that during the course of our audit procedures, and we didn't note any instances of non-compliance there. With respect to internal control over financial reporting, we do have a couple of findings to report to you. Those are on pages 145 and 146. The audit took a little bit longer. We weren't late or didn't miss any deadlines or anything, but during the course of our audits, we noticed that it took a long time for the city to reconcile its cash. And I'm sure you're aware of the city changed its accounting systems. It's been quite a long project endeavor in that regard, and for that reason, it took the city a little bit longer to reconcile its cash than what we normally see. So the condition portion of that finding says that the September 30th, 2018 cash balances were not fully reconciled into February. So that's quite a bit of a time between, generally what we see is every month, every 2 months, those accounts are reconciled. So it just took longer, and I think it's something that we haven't seen in the past. It's something obviously attributed to the new accounting system and getting Michelle and her team getting acclimated to that and how to use that system. It's something that we anticipated going away in the future. But one thing that we did mention, the other finding that we had pertains to the calculation of infrastructure. The engineers calculated unit values that are used to determine the infrastructure for the city of Nampa. When we were looking at that analysis this year, we noticed the unit values weren't updated per the engineering's best cost estimates. And typically, those values are updated and everything, and so there is a calculation that's required, and it just didn't get updated this time. So there was an overstatement there that was immediately corrected by the city of Nampa. So these findings are classified as significant deficiencies. You can have more severe levels of findings than these, and you don't have those. So so that's it for the findings. The third report that we issue is a report on federal compliance with federal programs. So that report is on page 142 and 143. So we're required, we perform a financial statement audit, which is what we've been talking about, and we also perform a federal programs audit on a risk basis. So we look at your federal programs and we select programs to test using a risk analysis. And this year we tested the CDBG program. We didn't have any findings or issues that came out of those the audit, no instances of noncompliance or anything like that. So in our opinion, we're issuing a clean opinion on your compliance with the CDBG program. So congratulations with that. Did you have any questions concerning the conclusions reached or the findings or anything like that? I can
Mayor Kling.
go into more detail.
Yesterday, I decided to read this whole information that you gave us, and instead of watching Games of Thrones. So I think I should have watched Games of Thrones.
Okay.
But the thing I was concerned with is that since our Tyler program has been up and down, and I wanted to make sure that the numbers were accurate and concise, and I think you fulfilled that. But there was still just a little bit of downfall that I looked at, and when I shouldn't say downfall, but some of the numbers that weren't there as of when February, is that right? So when are we going to get the rest of the report that would put a cap on this one?
So to sort of reframe your question, when is the city going to catch up on its bank reconciliation?
That's
That kind
correct.
of-
Right.
I think that's probably something that maybe the finance director can speak to, because we audit as of September 30th, and
Right.
that's our focus, and so
Right.
we don't go into October, November, or anything like that to see if they're caught up, but I'm sure.
Okay.
Councilmember, we are working on the reconciliations now. It is my plan, along with Michelle's, to not only have this caught up, but to improve the processes each month as we go along. It's very critical to have cash reconciled timely, and I fully support the auditor's opinion and question on that. It was kind of a perfect storm, staffing changes, rolling out of a new Tyler budget system, and other issues that kind of really made that a challenge. But when we did reconcile the cash, it was reconciled accurately.
Oh, okay.
There was no issues with the final number. It was the time it took us to do it. So our focus is on increasing that time from here on, so that the next time we go around the audit, we no longer have this problem.
Okay, that sounds good. That's what I wanted to hear.
Great.
Are there any other questions? I don't think we see any. So thank you very much for your report. We appreciate your work, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, may I make just one final comment? It's worthwhile noting that throughout the Tyler process and the audit process, we relied on Eide Bailey a little more than we have in the past. And they helped shore up some of our gaps. And the impact was
was a little additional cost in the audit process and in the Tyler reconciliations. The total of that was about $29,000. The value was it was worth spending that because the downside of not completing the audit on time were some pretty severe financial penalties. This will not happen next year, but it was worthwhile noting that Ide Bailey stepped up to the plate to help us to get there, but the result was a little more cost.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the time for our public hearings, and as stated earlier in the agenda, as we step into our public hearing time, we are going to begin with item 6.4 on the agenda. And this, I'll read through. We have two action items. This is a variance to the City of Nampa zoning ordinance, and item A is, has to do with setbacks. It's 10-15-6-C.2, setbacks requiring a 0-foot setback for building elevations, building sides, and street sides. The applicants state that due to the location of the lot on the perimeter of the downtown core, this larger lot cannot meet the setback requirements for a proposed restaurant, as do the buildings located immediately downtown on the smaller width lots. Then B, under this action item, is 10-15-6-G.2, parking areas shall maintain the same setbacks as the primary building, or parking areas shall be behind the building. The applicants also state that due to the existing parking area and the need for parking for the restaurant use, the location of the existing parking area to the front and side of the building cannot be relocated or adjusted. So both variance requests are for a proposed Taco Time restaurant to be located at 1007 3rd Street South, an approximate 12,742 square foot lot. This is tax ID number 18274 in lots 38 and 40, block 50 in the Nampa Original Town Site, Southwest Quarter, Section 22, T3N R2W. This is within the Downtown Historic Zoning District for Mark Fletter Johan, representing Muscle Construction, variant 00069-2019. So we'll start with the applicant. Is the applicant here this evening? So thank you. Mike, feel free to give us your name and your address, and go ahead and tell us what you're working on.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Mike Muscle, 320 11th Avenue South, Nampa. I would like to ask for a variance tonight for Taco Time. Taco Time's been in downtown Nampa since 1968, so 51 years. And the site's located on the corner of 10th and 3rd. One other thing just to mention with Taco Time, they want to co-brand, so they want to bring in some lighter menu items, so it'll be Surf City with smoothies and that kind of thing. So they'll have a co-brand, providing everything goes well. We're just here to ask for a variance for them so we can allow room for a drive-in. They've never had a drive-in, and that's been we took a small survey with the people coming in, and they were really wanting to have a drive-through. So our hope is that we can get this variance so we can set the building at its current location. I think you have that, and it'll allow room for some shaded patios setting up across 3rd Street there. And then we're going to also tie this in with the half-block project, so it'll all have the same look and that type of thing. But anyway, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions right now? So Mike, as you know, we will have you back to answer questions, and so we'll move on to the staff report, and thank you.
Sounds good.
So Christy.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm Christy Watkins, planner for the City of Nampa. As noted, this request is for a variance to 2 code sections in the Downtown Historic Code, 1015-6C2 and 1015-6G2. Both will require a decision from you tonight. Per the submitted application, the applicant has provided the following, that they do own the property, and they have provided a limited statement that attempts to explain and justify the request as having a unique site circumstance, and that somehow restricts the placement of the building and the use of the existing parking area. If you're familiar with that particular lot, the building that was there previously has been cleared away, but the parking lot still remains, and I believe they wanted to be able to kind of repurpose that area without having to completely reconstruct it. The applicant desires to receive permission to build the proposed building and keep the existing parking area intact. The owner of the property has proposed and been approved for a new development on the property that currently houses the Taco Time restaurant. That property is immediately adjacent to this property, so it is vacant and available for relocation of Taco Time, which seems like a very convenient flip. The subject property is located on the perimeter of the downtown historic zone. It is a normal, what we would consider to be a normal lot size for a regular city lot. Unlike the smaller lots that you would find in the downtown core that are maybe 25 to 30 feet wide. So as noted, and I don't know if you saw the exhibit, I'll show you. This is just a comparison. The project location is on the left side of the page. The comparison properties are in the middle. You'll see how those are built lot line to lot line, and they're attached to each other. This property is quite a bit larger than those ones, and so it's a little more difficult to make a building that would be that big. A Taco Time restaurant doesn't necessarily require that much space. The literal interpretation and enforcement of the code states that they shall maintain a 0-foot setback from the property lines. This would deprive the property owner of being able to construct a building that provides the type of service necessary with the drive-through. There did not appear to be any immediate concerns from any of the city departments or agencies, although you did receive this letter from ITD tonight that does have some specific requirements for a property that abuts the state highway system. They are in negotiations with the owner currently on some of the improvements that need to be made along that frontage. They will be required to submit a right-of-way encroachment agreement to ITD. So I'm going to read through the conditions of approval just so that it's clear what will be required going forward, because that particular condition didn't get listed in your staff report. So should you choose to approve this application, we have our general condition that requires that they comply with all other city requirements and permitting. The second one is that the applicant shall pave and stripe the parking area, as well as in place good quality landscaping along the frontage of the repurposed parking area. And then also that they submit the ITD right-of-way encroachment agreement back to the city upon submittal of the building permit. So if you have any questions, I will stand for those now.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Christie, the landscape setback, or how wide is that off of Third Street?
It's 15 feet.
So 15 feet of landscape before any parking? So there's no parking in the setback?
Correct.
And no patio in the setback?
Well, the patio will be a part of the building, and so it goes right up to the back of the sidewalk, but the landscape strip will be along the parking area.
So it only separates the parking then from Third Street?
And excuse me, I'm sorry, Councilman Hammerfield. And in this zone, as it states, the building can be moved to the front of the property, so the patio then would take the space up that the building would potentially have been in.
That's your zero lot, or setback?
Yes.
So the only other question, it appears that there's no, for this corner, there's no access off of Third Street, except at the alley?
That is
Okay.
correct, yes.
And they're using that as far as for, I imagine the queuing is off of, is that 10th?
Yes,
So they'll queue in along the south side of the building and then back out the alley onto Third?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Christie, I was looking at this where you're showing us comparison parcels and then the project location. Could you help me understand the significance of the comparison parcels? Because I don't believe that they have any drive-throughs or patio dining or anything, correct?
Yes, Councilman Levi, yes, they do not. That's the issue with how the boundary is drawn for the downtown historic zone. When you get to the properties that are in the core, you have buildings that are built lot line to lot line. Those black lines are the lot lines. There's no room for drive-through, there's no room for parking. So we don't have that requirement there. But when you get to the outer edge of the DH zone, and this literally is on the edge of that zone because the next property over is in the DV zone, you start to run into those larger lot sizes that weren't originally intended to have that attached wall. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to build a building of that size.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
One follow-up question. The design of this building, has it gone before to the Design Review Commission yet?
Councilman Haverfield, yes, it has.
Okay.
It just did, as a matter of fact.
And it was approved?
A week and a half ago, yes.
And the Historic Commission as well, or is that a requirement?
Actually, this particular building did not go, forgive me, it did not go before the committee. It came to me as a staff person because it didn't meet the size requirements that took it over to the committee. So that's kind of what kicked in this process. As I was reviewing it, I realized that it wasn't going to meet the codes that it needed to meet. And I don't have a letter from the Historic Society.
So it has gone before the BSDS committee, correct?
No, it was a staff approval.
Just a staff level
Yeah.
approval? Is that common? I guess my question is, that's a major corridor, and I assume that building would be subject to the Design Review Commission's review and approval for fenestration, color changes, all of that. So have you checked those requirements against our code to make sure that it meets those requirements?
Yes, Councilman Haverfield. We have in our code, any building under 5,000 square feet is a staff review.
Okay.
So I went through the code and I compared the code requirements to what they provided with their elevations. And according to what the Building and Site Design Standards Committee approved for the neighboring property, which is the Nampa Town Square, it fell in line very close to what they had approved for that property, or in that project. So I kind of followed what they had discussed and what they approved on that.
So the library building, as an example, when it went through, it did have review but it exceeded the 5,000 square feet?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing, and we have just a couple people signed up, one of which was Mike, and you already spoke. So the other person that signed up this evening was Jerry Dickerson. And Jerry, I think I saw you come in, but I don't know where you sat. Would you like to come? Are you here you're just signing up in support of not saying anything? That is correct. Okay, duly noted. Thank you. So we do not have anyone signed up that's in opposition to this project. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak that did not get signed up? Yes. Feel free to come forward and just state your name and address. And thank you.
Jeff Shadler, Network Architects. Let's see, 2517 West Neff, Neff Court, Boise, Idaho. I'll just put a little more in, I guess, basic terms. In downtowns, you push buildings right to the lot line to eliminate really small, narrow alleys or dangerous places, and to create outdoor rooms out of your roads, walkways, things like this. On this project, the design really was informed from the half-block design, and as you continue down the highway there, you're going to be greeted with an entire group of outdoor rooms, basically. There's a lot of activity going on as we go by there, and an arcade that's sort of if you want to look him up, Luis Barragan, very famous Mexican architect. We're creating sort of an aqueduct arcade fountain out of that. And this building specifically calls to that. There we have wisteria growing on a white trellis. Here we have a wisteria-colored trellis with white flowers. And even though I'm not pushing all the way to 3rd Street with the building, I am with the outdoor room. The patios go right to the sidewalk. So sort of the spirit of the code there is in place. It's just an outdoor space, so obviously it doesn't meet the letter of the law. But that's really why you have that code in the downtown area, is to push buildings right to the lot line so that you have, the outdoor spaces have typical heights. That's why you regulate building heights, things like that. And in the case of this building, similar thing. But we're doing it outside and starting to spread it out as we're on the edge. I assume you have pictures of the building as well.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question? I'm just, so I think I have in my mind this outdoor space, so it's very close to the sidewalk, it's very close to the highway side, 3rd Street?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just, I guess my question then is, as far as what type of barrier do you have going up facing the street?
There's a sidewalk. So
Just a
lot line
sidewalk.
is sidewalk. So there's,
Let me get, I mean, what I'm getting to, I realize parents should be responsible. I'm just thinking of kids going out on a very, very busy road right there. And what type of, barrier, or whatever the case is, there might be to prohibit a child all of a sudden breaking away from a parent and going out onto a busy street.
gotcha. There is none currently. Trying to think of a comparable area.
Because that outside is for eating during the nice weather and so on, so families will be out there.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And yes, there's no physical barrier to stop them. I suppose we could create a small wall. Typically, you don't in downtown corridors. And again, because it's kind of an in-between spot, I understand your concern there. Like when you, in a downtown area, you tend to spill out onto the sidewalks even.
Right.
It's kind of a shared space.
But
And
it's
then you
slow traffic, and I
Yeah,
realize there's a speed limit there, but that traffic is moving usually in a
Yes.
destination to get where they're going pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
prior to that, the only traffic calming is the landscaping. We have landscaping and then the patio.
Okay, anyway, I would just, I guess my point is some consideration
Yes.
for protection of our children. Okay, thanks.
Mayor Kling, I didn't catch your name again.
Jeff Shadler.
Jeff.
Schoedler.
Jeff's fine.
Horrible name.
I asked the question as far as landscape buffer off of 3rd to the building, and I was told that there is no landscape, that's a patio area. Then you're going all the way to the property line.
There's landscape between the parking lot.
I heard that. But there's no landscape strip between the outdoor seating area and the sidewalk that you just mentioned, correct?
No, there is not.
Okay, and I guess to follow up on your example of a location that might be similar to what Councilman Bruner was talking about, if you look at the Fork Restaurant in downtown Boise, there is a perimeter fencing just to keep a defined area where people can sit from people walking up and down the sidewalk, and a controlled area for kids as well. So that's,
Yeah.
I think, what he's trying to bring to your attention. Now, whether the owner chooses to do that or not, I guess it's his liability that he's assuming, not ours.
Yes, yeah, and there are, similar to the Basque Block downtown, that's a rarely used road, so some of the spaces do have that delineation. Typically, it's because of liquor restrictions. If you're serving alcohol, there's a way to delineate, don't take your alcohol beyond there. And then other places have it completely open, so. But yes, it's a more temporary solution or a fencing solution.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any further questions from council at this time? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here this evening that had intended to testify on behalf or in opposition to this particular hearing this evening? Okay, seeing none. Council, do you have any questions? Well, this is the opportunity for the applicant to come back and to provide closing comments.
I was just going to add that there is, on Third Street, there is going to be a sod strip that ITD we're working with, and it's got to be minimal landscape because it's a viewing area where they pull out. Because we've given up all of our access points across Third Street to stop the congestion there. But it's also 25 miles an hour with a stoplight there. So I think it's going to be pretty controlled, and I believe with that 15 feet or so to the edge of the curb, there's pretty good distance there to help with that issue. And if you want a small wall, we're fine with that, so.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Mike, in looking at the rendering, it does appear to show a landscape strip. The answer there wasn't one there.
Well, I dealt with ITD, so, and that was just recently that we went through some of those
Yeah.
design features there.
And as traffic then goes along the south side of this building and down onto the alley, there's going to be traffic that's being generated on the east side of the building as well. So again, not only is there a potential harm to the north, but to the east, where a little screen wall might be a good idea. But
We'll
again,
consider that, and that's going to be mostly pedestrian, and the patio will extend out on that side too. We're trying to capture the shade for the customers, so, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions though at this time for Mike Russell? Okay. So if there are no further questions, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what is the will of the council?
Mayor Kling,
Yes.
clarification from Christie, did you say that the conditions of approval that were mentioned did not include the right-of-way encroachment agreement with ITD, that it needed to be added? Okay, thank you.
So would there be a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion to approve the concept as proposed to us with a strong recommendation that a screen wall be added, but I'll leave that to the developers, whether he wants to do it or not, but that the approval is based upon the recommended conditions of approval by staff, including a right-of-way encroachment agreement with ITD.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just want to be clear, the motion represents both items within the action item?
That's correct.
Thanks.
Along with the right-of-way encroachment agreement.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Items A and B as noted.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
There you go. Happy anniversary. Okay, we're going to move to item 6.1 in our public hearings, and this is an action item. This is the annexation and zoning to BC at Zero Star Road. It's parcel number R303-630-1200 on the south side of Ustick Road, east of Star Road, for access to city utilities for a mixed-use development. This is a 4.72 acre parcel situated in the northwest quarter, section 5, T3N R1WBM, tax 99106 and lot 4 for Matt Garner, representing GABR LLC, Justin Reynolds, and Alan Bean.
Mayor
And this
Kling,
is, yes,
I'll be recusing myself from this decision.
okay. Discussion and vote?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention early on. Is the applicant here this evening? Thank you. Share with us your name and address. Who you're with?
Mayor, council members, Matt Garner, live at 1211 West Hawk Place here in Nampa, Idaho, and here representing Architecture Northwest on behalf of Mr. Bean, as was said. So what we have is just this parcel of land. The owners came to us. They wanted to annex to get access to the city utilities, but also to develop the property as a BC zone. And in your packet, you'll see that there was provided a kind of a proposed layout for a storage complex that would take in the kind of the southerly third portion of the property, leaving the front open to be developed further as commercial property along the frontage there at Ustick Road.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Gardner, and we will have staff, and then you'll have the opportunity to come back and answer any further questions. Thank you very much. Norm?
I wanted to point out there was a mistake on the acreage that was stated both on the agenda.
Okay.
It was 4.72 acres. It should be 14.72 acres.
14, thank you.
And that was a typo on my part that made it by the Planning Commission and was pointed out by the applicant this evening. So wanted to get that corrected. So it's not 4 acres, it's 14 acres, 0.72 acres. This has came before the Planning Commission previously, and they have given a recommendation for approval of this annexation to zoning, and listed a few conditions in that approval. But before we go through that, I just wanted to review that this is contiguous to the city limits on the south, and it borders an RS 8.5 zone on the south that's undeveloped residentially. On the comprehensive plan, the designation for this area is community mixed use. Actually, it's, am I right on that? I always get those mixed use. Yeah, it is community mixed use, yes. And listed in the staff report is also some guidance from the comprehensive plan concerning community mixed use, what it is and what the principles to be utilized in the development of community mixed use. In any event, the commission did review this, and it is in a location that the BC zone would conform with the commercial or community mixed use designation. And as the applicant indicated, though the site plan that was, or concept plan that was submitted showed the storage units on the southerly third, the intent, as I understand it, has been described to me, is that they are intending to do commercial use and probably perhaps even higher density residential out towards the, behind the commercial on that northerly 2/3 of the property. So it would become more of a community mixed use in eventual development of the property. And this property would also be subject to the design review standards since it would be zone BC. And so those issues relative to community mixed use could be further reviewed at that time in terms of the design review application that's submitted before construction would begin on this property. And it would relate not only to the storage units that are in the initial plan, but any future buildings that would be situated on the frontage properties as well. So with that, the Commission did recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to the council here with the BC zone. And the engineering staff recommended a number of conditions that are listed in the staff report regarding utility extensions and design requirements for those extensions, as well as city water, city sewer discussion, pressure irrigation discussion, and granting of access and utility easements for and to the city of Nampa and other utility companies or jurisdictional entities as required, as necessary for the operation and maintenance of any utility that would be located on the development site. And also requirements on right-of-way dedication on Usick Road would be a part of this as well. And any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So with the zoning, the annexation and zoning to BC, when we're talking about storage units, would they be able to build those without any approval with this decision?
Under the BC zone, storage units are a permitted use. They would go through design review, but there would be no conditional use permit requirement.
For that, okay, the reason I ask is that we've got an RS 8.5. So you've got, I'm assuming residential, right, that would be backing up to storage units,
That's correct.
right? So,
There would be no access through that boundary on the southern property, I don't imagine. And would probably be some kind of, well, it'd be the storage unit perimeter construction would be the visual from that side of the property.
okay. I will just say that one of the discussions, and I support the development, it's not that I'm against it, I'm just concerned about the number of storage units that we're approving and the economic impact in our community. And when you put them right next to a residential, there is an impact there when you have residential and you're putting storage units right there. And so, you know, I think my key is that when we have development, we want it to be quality development, really good development. And so I just have personally am concerned about the number of storage units that we have and then placing them right next to a subdivision. So,
Unlike one of some of the more recent storage units, this is not eating up any industrial land.
Right.
This is planned for community mixed use, and from that standpoint, I think the same concern that we've had in other locations doesn't exist as far as industrial land.
correct. It doesn't for industrial, but when you're looking, and that's something just for council to know that we're actually looking at, what is the long-term impact of development in our community, right? What brings, from a tax revenue standpoint, what is the development that is positive for our community long-term? Because the one thing that I do know is that every time we develop something, it's going to be here for 100 to 150 years. So I do support the annexation and coming in. I'll just say that I have a little bit of concern over storage units because the taxable income that comes from a storage unit isn't necessarily the greatest positive impact. So, anyway, thank you for answering my questions. Those are comments along with my questions. So, any further questions?
Yes, Mayor. Access, help me, I should know this, but
Yeah.
let me, because the storage units, so right now, the proposal of the 14.72 acres, what is the proposal of how much of the 14.72 would be storage units? Do we know that at this point in time, or is this premature?
It looks like, it appears at about a third of the
And
area.
they're going to be at that
At that southerly end.
southern end, so access to that southern end. So you'd be traveling down quite a ways to get to the storage units, in other words.
There's an existing Sterling nursery is located along that.
So is the south boundary, what we're seeing on the south, the bottom is the south boundary? That is the south boundary, and so there, what is that separating? Is that an irrigation ditch? Or it is, okay, which is a really good barrier between the two properties.
Yeah.
That's very helpful to see. Thank you.
Thanks,
Mayor.
Norm.
Mayor, council, is the Meridian Impact Zone just east? Or is not the landscape, but just to the east of that?
The Meridian impact comes over to the county line, which is further east.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly how that.
Is the boundary, so
Yep.
on the north side of Ustick would be Meridian, on
Okay.
the south side is.
Okay, great.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Norm, couple questions. And I kind of was going in the same place that you are, Mayor, as far as storage units, what that looks like 100 years from now. And so as I'm looking at the property, my first question is the surrounding properties, are they all still in ag production? I'm trying to figure out what is that to the immediate east and what is that to the west?
Well, as I mentioned, to the east is the Sterling Nursery.
Sterling Nursery, okay. And the west is
The west
what?
looks like a home and a rural acreage there that, it doesn't look like it's in total production from the visual, but I don't know the answer to that.
And you had said that the future land use map shows it is mixed community.
Community mixed use.
And I can appreciate that. So looking to the north, is that still an ag production as well?
It appears that it is.
And then down at the south end where it's RS 8.5, is that an ag production or is it just zoned RS 8.5 or is
I
there something
believe
actually
it's
platted?
undeveloped at the
It's
present
undeveloped.
time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Probably still being farmed.
Are there any additional questions for Norm? Okay, hearing none, this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone that's actually signed up in support of or in opposition to. Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify on this particular hearing? Seeing none, this is the opportunity for the applicant to come back and share your thoughts, and thank you for providing response even to my comments and concerns. I appreciate that.
Madam Mayor, council members, Matt Garner, 1211 West Hawk Place, Nampa, Idaho. Yeah, so as has been discussed, along that bottom southerly side, there is a somewhat of a buffer. It's not, excessive, but there is a buffer there between. And then obviously, at this point, we're just asking for the annexation. And then as we proceed with design, we'll obviously be going through design review, and we can address some of those facades along the southerly side if necessary through design review process. But any questions?
I guess you're off easy there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council, do you have any other further questions before we close public hearing?
Mayor, I have one more question for staff, please. And if you could just clear up, I'm looking at applicable regulations for a property to be annexed. It must be contiguous with city limits or being enclaved by other properties so annexed. The property is this property is contiguous city limits along its southern boundary. So are these other properties annexed? Or they're still in the county?
They're still in the county. The yellow RS 8.5 zone is the city limits on the south of this. Everything to the north of the yellow is not in the city.
That's all, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I'd stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Council discussion.
Mary Kling.
Yes.
I also agree with you. I shudder when I hear about storage units backing up against a residential area. But I also believe that this development appears to be a pretty good one for us, depending on the type of development.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the annexation and zoning to community business for the 14.72 acres under JABR LLC with the recommended conditions.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Just brief, some of your concerns. I know that this will perhaps be an amenity for the housing because there's strict CCRs that a lot of subdivisions live under, so they need, sometimes they need storage for that. And I know that there's some subdivisions that are going in where the storage provides, it allows for the homes within the subdivision to conform to the standards that we expect. So it's sort of a trade-off, it kind of offsetting, but it's a free market and development, so I support this development, while also sharing some of the same concerns, so.
Awesome. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Mr. Garner, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Item 6.2 on the council agenda is our next public hearing, and this is an action item. It's a variance to the City of Nampa zoning ordinance, section 10.10.6A, requiring a 7,000 square foot lot size in an RD zoning district to allow construction of a new single-family dwelling on a substandard approximately 5,314 square foot lot located at 408 15th Avenue North. This is Lot 8, less southeast, the southeast 65 feet of the southwest 25 feet on Block 120, Griffith Kings Subdivision, Canyon County, account R0893300000. This is for Oleski v., is it Caton? Yep. Caton, thank you. So would you, you're the applicant? Yep. Feel free to come forward, state your name and address, and tell us what you're wanting to do, besides what we just said, all that.
My name is Alexi Catan, 515 South Davin Creek, Nampa, Idaho. Just wanted to build a single-family home, and please let me build a home. That's it.
That was short and sweet.
That was great. Okay, staff report.
This variance for this was actually previously approved by the city council. I don't know if any of you were here in 2014. I guess maybe some of you might have been. Yeah. Anyway, it was approved as requested by a prior owner of the property. They didn't get the house built in the 6-month period required, and now a new owner has applied for the same variance that was previously approved by the council. And as was mentioned in the staff report, the lot is approximately 5,314 square feet in size, and the average size of a full lot is 7,000 square feet in that area. This is somewhat larger than a corner lot split, which would be allowed in the same zoned area. So it is just slightly under what's required, well, roughly 2,000 square feet less for an interior lot designation. But because of the way the lots were split in the area, this lot was reduced by an amount, and a home did previously exist on the property, and it makes sense from an infill standpoint, I think, to allow something to be rebuilt on there. And the applicant just got caught in the fact that the variance had expired, and now is asking for a new variance to be issued for it. I suppose we could have overlooked that, but we thought the right thing was to bring it back. So, anyway, that's the request. And the analysis and rationale that supports that is listed in the staff report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Norm? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone additionally signed up in support of or opposing this particular public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to speak? Seeing none. The applicant, do you have anything else you would like to share? Okay. And if there's no further discussion or questions from the council, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Mayor.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Miss.
Thank you, sir. I move that we close public hearing.
I'll second it then.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Council discussion or motion?
I make a motion on action item 6.2 to grant the variance to City of Nampa zoning ordinance section 10-10-6A on this agendized item that we just heard,
I'll second that.
with recommended conditions of approval.
Good job.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vogelboom.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Are you building, I'm sorry, Mayor, are you building the house yourself, or, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay, go after it.
Congratulations and enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, item 6.3 on the agenda this evening is our last public hearing of the evening. And this is a variance to Nampa City zoning ordinance, section 102320E. This is permanent signs permitted within a GB1 zoning district, allowing a 20-foot, 5-foot as a maximum height for a pylon sign, in order to allow for a 40-foot pylon sign to be consistent with the Nissan corporate sign requirements and the surrounding dealership signs for property located at 15885 Idaho Center Boulevard, Lot 3, Block 1 of Grayken subdivision in the northeast quarter section 13, T3N R2W for Bronco Motors Nissan. And the applicant, I think, is here. Would you like to come forward? Good evening. And you do need to go ahead and state your name and address.
Yep. Madam Mayor and members of the Honorable City Council, Grant Peterson, Bronco Motors, 2670 West Main Street, Boise. I just wanted to go over our application and so forth and give you a little bit of facts behind our development. We've been involved in the Gateway Business District Advisory Board for all the different covenances and so forth that we employ down there, which are unique to the rest of the area of Nampa and so forth. And so we've worked with them over the years to develop a very good development, as you can see. We've also done a lot of work in the backdrop over the years, where we've dedicated 35 feet of right-of-way on Idaho Center Boulevard and developed and taken all the overhead tangled up power lines and put them all underground, as well as all the fiber optics and so forth. So we have a very good-looking development. I think it's a model for other developments around the Northwest. So we employ about 100 employees at my 4 dealerships down there, all of them along Idaho Center Boulevard. And What we're asking to do is just to comply with Nissan North America's requirements to upgrade our sign to the competing other signs along there. We're governed a lot by what these national companies try to do. We are located quite a distance from the freeway and so forth, so this will just give us that added visibility to get those people from stopping by, you know, and buying a car and generating some sales tax revenue, and help us build some more roads and build some more schools. And I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions at this time?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Excuse me. I just didn't read it. You're replacing another sign?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We may have you, well, we will have you come back. Staff report. Christie.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm Christy Watkins, planner for the City of Nampa. This particular request is a variance to the sign code 102320E that allows for a maximum height of 25 feet on a freestanding sign. As noted in the staff report, there is a history of variances for sign heights being granted in this location, as it has a unique proximity to I-84. Some were for 30-foot signs. This particular property itself did get a variance for the 30-foot sign that exists there now. There was also one that is for 41.5 feet, so as you can see, there's many fluctuations in the sizes. Per the submitted application, the applicant has provided that they own the property. They desire to receive permission to install a 40-foot sign where a 30-foot sign now exists to comply with their corporate requirements. There are other signs in the area that have received variances for equal to or taller signs. The literal interpretation and enforcement of the height regulation could deprive this property owner from constructing a sign with similar visibility privileges that are enjoyed by other properties in the area. It does not appear that any city departments or outside agencies have had any issues with this request, so no comments were received from them or from adjacent property owners. We've listed our standard conditions of approval. Of course, the city building department has requested that when they submit for their sign permit, they do submit structural calculations, which of course is required for all freestanding signs anyway. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? Councilman
Mayor
Haverfield?
Kling, in looking at the sign proposed, the actual signage area at the top is just 150 square feet, is that correct?
That's correct.
So and looking at the perspectives, it's still almost a pole-supported, it's just, there's an area between that you can still see through, and so it's not a true pylon, it's actually more of a pole, in my mind. I can construe it the other way, so, thank you.
It's pretty structural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions of Christie? Hearing none. Thank you, Christie. So this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up besides Mr. Peterson that was testifying on behalf of and no one in opposition to. Is there anyone here this evening that had intended to testify? Seeing none. Mr. Peterson, do you have anything else you would like to share with us?
I appreciate everything you guys do. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask him a question?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson, may I ask you a question, please? And just a comment, it's a very sharp-looking sign, by the way. So why going from the 30 to the 40, why is that required?
Well, the proximity from us, from the freeway and so forth, just trying to get that visibility and so forth down in that corridor. We're probably about 1/8 of a mile away from the freeway at that area and so forth. So at one point in time, I do understand that they're going to redesign that whole interchange again. I hope not anytime soon, because it was very disruptive, but trying to get, we have a lot of travelers that obviously use I-84 and so forth, and just trying to get that visibility. And of course, there's only 2 Nissan dealers in the Treasure Valley here and so forth. So we obviously are trying to get as much business out of Ada County as humanly possible. And so we want to make sure that we keep those tax dollars coming to Canyon County.
Okay. And the nature of my question was, I perhaps misunderstood, was that it was required by corporate for you to have a 40-foot sign?
Yeah, they actually originally wanted me to do what they call a freeway sign. That's typically what they do with properties that are located very close to the freeway and so forth. They want some of these real high, 80, 100-foot signs and so forth. So obviously in the development that we were trying to do with everything, we were trying to keep the signage down, knowing that it was a GB1 district, and working with them to craft those rules and so forth. So from the aesthetics and so forth, but it does leave us at a disadvantage versus our competitors. There has been other competitors that are actually even closer to the freeway than we are, that have been approved to do this also. And manufacturers, they want to show their wares, and they want to, it's a very competitive business, and so, we want to try and lure as many people off I-84 coming from both, east and west to get off at the Idaho Center, Boulevard exit.
So I understand that from a business point of view, but like the auto lot police aren't going to come in and shut you down if you didn't have your 40-foot sign. Is that right?
Technically, they're not. No. I don't think they're going to take away my franchise or anything like that tomorrow. God forbid. But I'm not. I don't run them. So they have a timeline where they ask us. We're basically up to their standards of how we do things. A little bit more like a McDonald's, where they have their standards and so forth. And so this is part of their new image campaign and so forth, NReady 2.0. I don't know if you guys got a handout that lays that out and so forth. So every 10 years, which we're at about 13 years, they come in and they ask us to change this, change that. Mostly interior and trade dress elements. This is what they call some of the trade dress elements. And so they've asked us to change this out and replace that sign. And so they've come back and requested for us to do that.
Well, thank you for the education.
Yep.
Are there any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Seeing no questions, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion or motion?
I make a motion to grant the variance on action item 6-3 as printed, with recommended conditions of approval.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just a thank you, Mr. Peterson, for doing business in Nampa. Appreciate that.
Roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Vogelbaum.
Yes.
I would like to echo that. We appreciate the business that you do here. Thank you. And thank you for your investment in the other property also. So thank you. That is the conclusion of our public hearings this evening. We are going to move back to item 4 on the agenda, and this is staff communications with Public Works Director Tom Points.
Is this a long one? We're at the 2-hour mark.
We're at the, I know we are at the 2-hour mark. I don't think so. We'll pause maybe after we do his report.
Those are,
This is a great one, though. This is awesome.
those are not Nighthawk hats or caps that I see.
Nampa Engineering.
I know, but they're blue and orange. There's a different color in Nampa.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Councilor, yeah.
And I am so sorry I didn't do this ahead of public hearing. That was a mistake on my part. I apologize.
So Mayor, Council, I'm excited to talk about this. This is a really cool thing. And if you recall from last meeting, we had some very courageous young citizens come up with some ideas on how to make things safer. And, we took that to heart and went out and looked at it and have come up, listened to their concerns and actually have some plans what Jeff is going to present. And it's just a really cool thing to be able to make the city a little safer for kids. So, but also I wanted to, maybe the teachers could come up if you don't mind. So the kids.
They're getting pretty famous now, you know
The
that.
kids weren't able to, I understand they had some other appointments, sports appointments.
They're famous now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did come up, you know, we got some future Nampa engineers, you know, doing some work for us at the elementary school, so I wanted to recognize them for what they've done and their ideas. And so we have these certificates that we put together, and I'll just read what it says, and if you could pass these on. So it says, Community Service Award for Outstanding Service to the City of Nampa. This certificate is presented to Sierra Crandall, Emerson Ford, Taylor Horton, and Yeva Smith, in recognition of design ideas for pedestrian crosswalk safety in the vicinity of Snake River Elementary School. So presented today and signed by Mayor and Public Works.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you. And hats for the future engineer.
Teachers don't get a hat.
Yeah, teachers don't get a hat.
They may need 2 more hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Engineering in Nampa City.
I think we both went to Boise State, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know what an engineer was when I was a kid.
I was local, I was
We're recruiting.
Good for you. Ladies, thank you so much, and I apologize you had to wait so long. And we need to get them 2 more hats, because there's just 4, right? Yeah, but the teachers need a hat. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. We'll get you 2 more hats. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, so we took a look at their excellent observations and requests. They had not only good comments, but good suggestions too. So with that, we're looking at Snake River Elementary. This is the school here, and this is Garrity right here. Lakeview Park is across the street, and then this is the stretch of 11th between Stampede and Garrity that we're talking about safety improvements. This is 11th Avenue North, and you can kind of see that this is an old street that has poor pedestrian access, and this is the one crosswalk that's there right now, but you can see the street's deteriorated, old section of roadway and curb. And this is a year and a half ago now, we had the 11th Avenue project where we redid the 5 railroad crossings up there. Well, if you remember, the project came in over, the bid was high, and we had to trim back the project. Well, when we trimmed back the project, we had to remove this portion of the project. We were going to rebuild all the sidewalks in there, all the pedestrian ramps, and we were going to put in these crossings that the kids requested. So it was timely, and they were right in their observations. This is just a picture of the approved plans that we have, and it's kind of table ready for improvements when we get around in that zone again. So we're shooting for that in another 5 years. We did look at their observations and their input. They had some good input. So we are adding 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs and school zone signs to here and there, making this parallel, not parallel, but this other route that's near the school a school zone so that people will slow down. And then also we are installing a pedestrian ramp. We can't do it now because there's no, we're installing a crosswalk here, but there's no pedestrian ramps there right now. So we have some money left over in our fund for pedestrian and sidewalks that we're going to do that work and then put in the crossing there, which is part of that future plan anyway. So we're just getting a little bit ahead of it. And then we're going to restripe this crossing here to make it a little brighter. There's already a crossing there. We looked at the timing over here at the Hawk signal. They mentioned that the crosswalk time was a little bit short. It was within our standards, but we added a couple seconds because we did feel like they needed a little bit more time to get across. So all of them great suggestions. Really appreciate it. Great group of kids, and pretty cool that they came and gave us a good presentation, council. So I'll stand for any questions you might have.
I think it's just great, the mayor, that, four young ladies. We need more lady engineers, so here we go.
Mayor Kling, if I could. Also, Jeff, when you and Tom went over to the school and showed Christina Clark and Natasha Johnson and the girls this presentation, what did they think? What did they say?
Well, we left them a copy of these plans, because we thought they might be engineers in the future and they'd like to look at the details of that. They seemed like, it was right along with what they were requesting as far as the safety improvements. I think they were, support of the plan.
Did the girls have a good time that day?
They weren't there originally, but when we shared the maps and pictures with them, they were just excited, tears of joy, and they couldn't believe that 11-year-old girls could help adults solve a problem.
Some
They were excited to
5-year-olds
see
help us.
the short term.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Very good. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you have the remaining of your staff report, Tom?
Yeah, I do have one
Yes.
more item,
Okay.
if you have, before the break, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay? Okay, so, impact fees is our next topic. And in your packet, got a couple maps. So as you recall, we had, there was some discussion about impact fees, our new impact fees as far as streets go, and just wanted to give you some information and these maps, which, we'll bring these to future meetings to kind of help with, facilitate the discussion about priorities of the capital improvement program as, planning or public hearings come forth with new subdivisions. So what you have right here is actually our transportation master plan map. So this includes the roughly $300 million worth of projects over a 20-year period. And it has, if it's a capacity project or a freight project or a bike and ped project, and it's color-coded in there. And we put the year that it was called out in the master plan. So that $300+ million worth of projects is more funding than Nampa has today. And we're this team and I are always looking for different ways to fund that gap. So the second map is our impact fee map, which is what we are calling the constrained funding map. This is what was approved by City Council and when Escott was coming around talking about the impact fee and all the projects. These are all the projects that have a funding source and a funding plan. So, and again, we color-coded these. Green are in the next 3 years, and then the yellow ones are out to the 10-year period because the impact fees are 10-year projects, so are 10-year lists. So you can go around, and we also put the year of the construction. So if you get a general look, you can see we're trying to take care of some interior deficiencies first, and then in the outer years, we're starting to move out away from that. So, so if we would have had this map for the, like the Greenhurst and Midland discussion last time, we could have pointed out that, we've got all these, oops, it's not working. We have other needs that are regional priorities, like for example, Victory and Kings. That's a pretty high priority, right? And that's actually a road that's failed today versus down over here. We still have some capacity left in it. So our plan was built based on data on this. We got to take care of the ones that have the highest need. So this particular, and then also we could have talked some about, we do plan on widening Midland all the way down through, so there'll need to be some intersection improvements during that widening period. The last thing I wanted to let you know is that, this is a map that can be adjusted some, and we will go through every year and look at the current safety data, current congestion data, and during the budget planning will be a great time for us to come and recommend improvements or changes to the plan. Like Patrick was saying last time, as long as we don't change the overall number of that we're funding, we can adjust projects within and shift a little. So we'll look at that every year. And what I'd also like to suggest, and we'll put it in the fiscal year 20 budget, and if you can let us know or give us comments on that. We could put some money into the fiscal year 20 budget and just call it mid-year traffic improvements. So there may be some things that come up that aren't captured in all these that we need to move mid-year on, and if, you know, we could put some funds in there, and if council directs to, we really want to take care of this, we can go out there and gives us some flexibility. So that's kind of our thoughts on this program. We want to make it work for everybody. This model is what ACHD has been doing for decades, and it's been a good model for them. It's been working, and so this is the plan. Is there any questions that I can answer?
Madam Mayor, I do. And so on the red there for Highway 16, so is there any chance Idaho Transportation Department, because that says 2037 to 40, going to the freeway from Highway 16, that red, correct?
Right. Yeah, yes, Counselor. So are you asking will it be?
Well, I'm just saying, is there a chance of that being moved up by, I mean, isn't the state purchasing eminent domain currently?
Mayor, Council, yeah, they have authorization to buy the right-of-way here, which starts the discussion. The state has lots of different options for funding, and so it's.
So that is just, if
Right.
we were solely responsible, I guess that's my main question. What's,
No.
for the 3740 projection timeline for that extension to the freeway from Highway 16?
The reason it's on our map is because we have some of our impact fee money that would help fund this. And so, but we're not responsible for all the funding of it.
Right, yeah.
And so, but the state, they don't have a specific funding year yet.
Okay.
And so it's in that bucket at the moment. It could be sooner, depending on, you know, like, let's take example, the infra grant that the council had recently authorized some funds towards. If that somehow goes through, then there's a whole discussion about what gets funded in the valley comes open again. I can't guarantee when it will happen, but
Okay.
I just.
I was just curious
Yeah.
what the 3740 date where that initiated, you know, that, I guess that's what I was, because I'm just a little surprised it was that far out.
It's just truly, it's not fully funded, and
Okay.
it's still in discussion as
Got it.
to, is it going to be built out from the north to the south or the south to the north? And then obviously, we have a project that was impacting it greatly.
Understand that.
So all of that is still in flux.
Okay, so it could change is what you're telling me.
It could change.
Thanks.
Mayor, Tom, can you, just for the record, I constantly get questions about Orchard and Middleton, and just for public record, that's under the jurisdiction of the Nampa Highway District, correct?
Yes, Counselor, that's
Yes.
under the Nampa Highway District. They actually do have a project in their program to put in a traffic signal there. And so there been a couple of last few years been purchasing right away. And isn't it coming up this
Anticipate starting this fall, the last I
fall?
This fall? Okay. I want to report back to them, and that's what I thought. And it doesn't look like the properties around there will be annexed. I think there's a church on one corner and whatnot. So I think the challenge is when there's enclaves like that on an intersection, is that kind of unique? Or are there others within here that aren't? So that's not marked because it's not under our jurisdiction, but it is slated for improvement, as Daniel said, this fall. I'd just be curious, because I know there's a lot of confusion among residents within the city about intersections they go through, and they think, hey, city, why aren't you on that? And they don't see anything on this map. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to be dealt with, but it's under the highway district jurisdiction. Is that their map?
Is that it right? Okay, so this is back to the master plan list. So it is a. Okay. Because it's their highway district. So yeah, that's that one is unique. It is kind of, and we are going to enter an agreement with them to maintain the signal after they build it. Eventually, if enough property gets annexed around it, we'll take over the ownership of the road too, but that's not in our agreement. Nampa Highway District's been doing a good job of going, you know, on the outskirts of the city, going through and putting in roundabouts. And, you know, so you're seeing a lot of roundabouts on Robinson Road going in, and those are funded by Nampa Highway District.
Yeah.
Generally, they get about 1 to 2 projects a year in our impact area for congestion.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So Madam Mayor, so that's my question. What's the reason that Nampa Highway District is preferring a signal to a roundabout in this area?
Just because we have signals on both legs.
So you're
both
just trying to be
directions.
consistent?
Yeah, roundabouts work well. Once you start down a corridor, a signal roundabout, you kind of want to stay with it, just for the signal timing and the queuing. So if you put a roundabout in the center of two signals with the queuing of the signals, the roundabout doesn't function the way it's supposed to. But if you have signals all the way up and down Middleton, for example, and you want to put a roundabout at the very end of the signal corridor, that would work fine. And then you just keep adding roundabouts. So it's
Please, okay.
Are there any further questions? No, Tom, thank you very much. Appreciate your work. Thank you for bringing the information
Thank you.
back here. Thank you. So I apologize for those of you that have been waiting. We are going to take a 5-minute break. Let's be quick, a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we'll begin with section 5 on the agenda, which is our new business. Oh, she is, I didn't see it, but Bobby just said that she was leaving at 8:30, so. I was surprised she stayed.
Sleep over that ledge there.
High hurdles, come on.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
Got some dinner. Thanks, Mayor.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Cliff
Okay, I
Bar.
think we're
There.
all back. Okay, the next section on the agenda is our new business section. And as per the motion earlier, we did remove item 5.1, so we're ready for item 5.2 on the agenda. This is an action item. This is the approval of beer, wine, and liquor license for Greystone Corporation, DBA, the V-Cut Lounge, located at 217 14th Street South. And I think what we thought we would do is give the applicant for this the opportunity to come up very briefly and share with us what you're doing.
Sure.
Thank you, and we do have a nice packet. Thank you very much
You're welcome.
for that.
Benefits of owning a print shop. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. So my name is Tim Wangler. My beautiful wife Jennifer right there. It's been a dream of ours to open a cigar lounge for years. And we found the absolute perfect spot with the H&M Meats building. Adam is here from H&M Meats. He has bought that building, renovating it, and we're looking at taking the front space. Adam has agreed to serve meals to our patrons, which we think is very important. And unfortunately, this just isn't profitable without the liquor license. The Vault, if any of you are familiar, the Vault in Meridian, a great place to go and have a nice cigar, does have a beer and wine license, again, making it profitable. And I just want to say this is going to be a nice, quiet place, no loud music. We're going to be very respectful of the church that's close by, closed on Sundays, just some light jazz music playing. A nice place to come with your spouse, have a Bible study, meet some friends, enjoy a cigar. I just want to say, if those of you aren't familiar with cigars, it's not cigarettes. You're not sucking down 19 a day. It's one a week and it takes an hour. We're going to be partnering with Cigars for Warriors. They send cigars to deployed men and women overseas. Let me say this, the number one requester of cigars, number one, of all the men and women in uniform, of all the military installations across the globe, chaplains. Why? Because when you get a group of men and women around a table, put a cigar in their hands, the barriers break down, the tough guy exteriors break down, and that's when you can hear, I can't pay my mortgage, my wife's pregnant, I'm not gonna be there. Cigar is different. It's just different. It's an event. Your clock stops, your internal clock stops. And it's just a nice place that we're gonna build here where husbands and wives can come together, buddies can come together and have nice, meaningful conversations. So that's what we're looking for.
Thank you.
You're
Council,
welcome.
do you have any questions?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. And your name again?
Tim Wangler.
Tim, thank you. Thank you for this innovative business idea. I'm very passionate and supportive of our local and small businesses, especially downtown. And if I might just kind of add something before I ask my questions, I've been watching with curiosity as far as what businesses come downtown and what NAMP is willing to accept. And when our Labyrinth escape games came downtown, I thought that that would probably be our pivotal point as to what was going to happen downtown. And when I've spoken with the owner, Matt, he said that they're doing really well. And so I'm excited about this. So, but I do have a few questions. It says, you specifically said you're not a bar, but you have alcohol, the seating, the access to food, conversation, and it's a gathering place. So what kind of is different?
This is a lounge. The word bar has a connotation, one that may or may not be negative. What we're trying to do is present this to you and to the community as a lounge, not a bar. Again, nice quiet place, no raucous loud music, beautiful leather decor. So the bar has a connotation that can be negative, and we're completely 180 degrees from that. And I would add to that, Congresswoman Levi, that a huge spread in the Idaho Press Tribune front page, demand for downtown Nampa is going gangbusters. I don't know if you guys read the paper. I hope you do. Mesa Tequila and Taco that you recently approved, 2-hour wait. You can't get in. It's very, very difficult to get in. So demand is going crazy. I completely agree with you. So.
Thank you. And a follow-up question. It said state-of-the-art ventilation system. What does that mean?
We're
What
working
makes it
with-
so unique?
Good question. We're working with Drake Mechanical on that. They did proposals for the vault. So they've got 3 proposals coming to us, 3 different systems we can look at using that's going to be there. But Drake Mechanical has the experience in cigar room ventilation. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions?
Just a question on the alcohol license, and it's probably in here, and I maybe just missed it. I just saw that it said beer, wine, and/or whiskey.
Correct.
What are you after?
Good question. No mixed drinks. We're going to leave the mixed drinks to the
So you're
craft
just
lounge.
straight.
Correct. Pairing bourbons with cigars is very big. Pairing scotches with cigars is very big, so it's just a straight pour. Yeah.
Okay, any further questions? Councilman Scott.
What opening date do you expect if you're approved?
We're going to look at fall, hopefully before football season. Just depends on the renovations, the ventilation system. So we're looking at summertime, late summer, early fall.
This is education, curious. So you said, where husbands and wives can come.
Absolutely.
So wives are, what's the percent? I'm just curious.
I would
I
like-
can't see my wife smoking a cigar, but I'm just, maybe she is.
Like Michael Bublé said, she hasn't met me yet.
Maybe your next husband. I don't know.
I would like to introduce you to a cigar smoker, my beautiful wife.
Okay.
And she absolutely loves it. No, it's a great question. Women smoking cigars is growing by leaps and bounds. So good question.
Okay.
Wow.
Is there a different technique or anything?
We're going to hold classes. I'll teach you everything you need to know.
I just want to get ready for the other councilmen's wives,
Well, no, good question, Mayor. Council. My daughter, my 14-year-old, she asked what's on the agenda as I leave the house, and so I mentioned this, and she was asking about cigar smoking, and I had to explain to her that you're not inhaling,
Correct.
you're tasting the smoke, and so she was trying to wrap her mind around it. So she's too young to come when you guys open, but she might be curious when she's of age. So, but she had the same questions. She's like, "Don't you inhale it?" No, you don't. And the ventilation system, I'm just curious, you don't have to answer this I'm just curious what the cost investment is that, all the stuff that you're talking about.
Again, good question. We've got budgeted about $40,000 right now. That's total. A lot of the work is done. Adam has done a great job renovating that building. He bought a building that was completely dilapidated, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I encourage all of you to take a tour of H&M Meats. It's fantastic in there. And so the front space has got new windows, new doors, ADA bathroom. It's essentially ready to go. You can see it in your packet, build the bar, build the humidor, bring in some furniture, and the ventilation system. So we're looking at about $40,000, hopefully to stay under budget.
And Madam Mayor, this is just a side note, but Adam's father, Dr. Hutchings, says you're catering like crazy everywhere. You're busy as can be, right? All right. HM Meats Catering. Okay.
Are there any further questions? Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you, ma'am.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Council.
Thank you. So this is an action item, and I do notice that the motion needs to allow variance. So, legal, could you weigh in on this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. You really, in this request for approval, have 2 decisions to make. The first, as brought by the applicant, is the request for the license itself. I don't know which staff member can speak to this, but staff has reviewed it, and the question about whether they've met the ordinance is ministerial, meaning if they've met it, they are entitled to it. The second question has to do with Idaho Code, Section 23-1011B, and that state statute prohibits the issuance of a license to any location that intends to serve alcohol within 300 feet of a church. As indicated on the memo you were given today from the clerk's office, this does fall within 300 feet of the church, and I should finish that sentence. Prohibits that except with the approval of the governing body, which is the city council here. And that question is discretionary to you. So 2 decisions. One, are they entitled to it? Have they met the requirements, which I believe staff has presented to you that they do meet the bare requirements of the license. Number 2, can that license be issued at this location? that's a determination for you to make as well.
Mayor?
Yes.
That was kind of along my lines of thinking was, I'm a guess that it is an allowed use in that zone. But then I was concerned about the surrounding, if there was a church, and did they weigh in? Because I know that with one of the breweries downtown, they had written that they were fine with having the brewery down there. And so has this church been notified?
There is, counsel, there is a document that was put at everyone's seat. And Debbie, would you like to, since you provided that, reference that?
We sent a letter on April 10th to the Bible Pentecostal notifying them of the pending application and inviting them to submit comments to the clerk's office if desired. The clerk's office did receive a phone call today from the church, and with they had some questions regarding the application process and the type of business that was applying. In the conversation with the church, they did not clearly state themselves to be in favor or in opposition to the application.
Councilman Haverfield?
Mayor Kling, Aaron, just for the sake of clarification, the 300-foot stipulation, is that front door to front door? I mean, where are we talking about as far as distances?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman Haverfield. The statute says, let's see, no license shall be issued for any place where beer is sold or dispensed to be consumed on the premises, whether conducted for pleasure or profit, that is within 300 feet of any public school, church, or other place of worship, measured in a straight line to the nearest entrance to the licensed premises, except with the approval of the governing body of the municipality.
Has anyone measured? Are we within that? Outside of it?
I
So,
didn't go out with a measuring stick.
How close is it? I don't know. Is it abutting the building? I don't know.
well, the front of the
Aaron.
church is on the west side on, I'm not sure what street that is. 13th. And then this is, the front door of this is on the east side. So you'd have to
On
go
14th.
either, yeah, you'd either have to go through the parking lot as the crow flies.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, I am not the city engineer or in any part, but I happened, as I was looking at this, before I knew that someone had made that determination, Google Maps has a feature where you can measure 2 points. These are both zero lot line buildings, as discussed. They're both up right to the lot line. If you measure from the lot line to the lot line, door to door, that is exactly 300 feet.
Right.
So it would appear to me that it is within that 300-foot range, barely. I don't know who made that determination for the city. Perhaps Madam Clerk can speak to that, but it appeared to me to be just within that distance.
But you'd
Mayor
have to
Kling?
go over the rooftop to get, that straight line. It wouldn't be, which would be your normal path would be out the building, down the sidewalk and around and to the front door. So I think there's a little leeway there, but.
Mayor
Councilman
Kling,
Rodriguez?
Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that when the Idaho State statute talks about a bar is an establishment that serves all kinds of liquor, that can serve on the outside based on the code. This is a lounge. It is different, totally contained within a building. Is there a separation there?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Rodriguez, this particular statute does not speak to bars. It speaks to any establishment that serves beer, which would be included here. And again, this isn't it's an absolute prohibition unless you approve it, and it often is approved. There's not a lot of guidance in the statute upon what circumstances you should or should not approve it. It's just barred unless you want to grant that approval. But it certainly does appear to apply here. If we measure that straight line as 300 feet, it's just within that distance, so.
Madam Mayor, or did you want?
Go ahead.
Just another question, I guess, and this is maybe to you, sir, but as far as, so it's a cigar for an hour, or so there's going to be some drinks consumed. Who's controlling the amount of drinks and so on? Is there a limit that you're going to have as far as amount? And as you probably guess, I'm mainly, my concern would be those leaving the lounge.
Absolutely. Alcohol is something that we will absolutely not take lightly. Typically, as you're smoking a cigar, it's a one-drink thing.
Okay.
Um,
See, I need to be
usually-
educated on this, huh?
Yeah,
Is it one drink per cigar, huh?
It's okay. Yeah.
All right.
One very expensive drink.
Yeah.
So what's before us this evening, actually, and I think what we've been talking through is the determination of, is there a need for a variance? And I think what I'm hearing from legal is, yes, there is, based on what you have estimated, that we need a motion for a variance. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, essentially, yes. It's not a variance in the legal sense of what a variance is. It's simply, do you approve this placement within 300 feet of the church? You have the absolute right to do that if you choose. Second, I don't know, it probably doesn't matter what order you do this in. Second, if you're going to approve it, do they meet the licensing requirements? I believe city staff have concluded that they do, and you can act based on that recommendation.
Okay, can we do it all in one motion?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what is the will of the council?
I'll make a motion, Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the variance and the liquor license to V-Cut Lounge located at 217 4th Street South.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I have a question if the motion, if that was satisfactory. I didn't know if that was appropriate to ask as the motion was setting. So I second, and now I'm asking that question.
I think his
Yes.
motion was sufficient. He moved that we accept it, yes.
Okay. Just answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And you seconded
If Aaron's
that?
okay with that? Yeah. Okay. Yes, I
Okay.
second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, fellow council members, I have no problem with V-Cut Lounge coming into town. My brother will be very excited, and his wife, who also smokes a cigar with him when they sit down for cigars. But for the future of downtown Nampa, I have great memories raising my 6 children, taking them downtown Nampa. It was wonderful. But we're becoming more and more 21 and over, and not a family setting downtown if you keep approving. And I would like to entertain an ordinance down the road at the mayor's convenience to put it on our calendar for discussion about if we want to do a limiting ordinance to the number of liquor licenses downtown, so we don't become one big bar area, if that's the desire of the council.
I like that.
Mayor?
Yes.
And I thank you, Councilman Skog, for bringing that up, and thank you, Councilman Rodriguez, for agreeing with that, because that has been one of the concerns that not only I have had, but a lot of people are bringing forth to us is, well, how can our family go down there? What is there for our family to do? It's very limited, and it's getting more limited. I agree this business is fine, but we really have to be judicious of how we move forward and what we're going to present our community as in the future, and our families really welcome, and are we matching up to our vision statement?
Thank you.
And I will say that during the State of the City, when we interviewed teens to serve as MC for the State of the City, we interviewed a number of young people. And they said they want a downtown that they can come visit, that they can hang out. And in order to do so, we have to find some places for them to hang out, that they can hang out. And right now, there isn't too much for them to do. So in the future, I support the discussion as we're having, because I think we need to be family-friendly, and that's what the downtown talked about. People in our whole community have talked about being family-friendly. So we do have some great new establishments that have come in. I will say Mesa, and I think 2C is coming in, and so the key is keep it upscale, right? It needs to be family, but I support the discussion, because we need to be family-friendly, and we need to have a place that our kids can come.
Can we, alongside Councilman Skog's comments, I'm wondering if there's an appropriate forum, just for education, if you can send to us on, because I'm personally not familiar with, as far as the quota on liquor licenses and whether or not there's comps as far as just density, for example, of the number within a certain area of liquor licenses. I would certainly want that information, be open to discussing the matter in a future meeting, whether it's information that you get to us, and if there's a proposed ordinance or something like that, I would want to know that, of course, it goes through legal, and that there's some comparable communities that have done something similar, but.
And there would be a public hearing.
Okay.
It would not be done outside of a public hearing environment, so the community could weigh in. I think we all support our community weighing in and helping guide our future. Is there any further discussion? So we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded, and roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
There you go.
Welcome. My favorite pastor, just for the record, C.H. Spurgeon, he smoked a cigar every Sunday on his way to church. So, yes, you know that. Okay. Well,
So-
all right. We'll be visiting later.
You might have a little bus for Scott Gloss. So all the lawyers can go down there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Okay.
Maybe I can put the Nampa City logo on.
It's going to cost you a royalty, though.
50 cents. 50 cents a drink. Yes.
And for H&M, thank you for your investment downtown. We just wish you the best. Thank you. We will, thank you. Okay, item 5.3 on the agenda. This is to award a bid and authorize the mayor to sign a contract to purchase a 3D laser scanner with integrated camera with Fargo Incorporated. This is purchased through funds available in a BJA grant. And Eric, thank you for being here tonight and waiting all this time.
I'm going to make the motion, so after a second, maybe you can have discussion, but I'll so move.
Me too. I mean, I was like,
Me too.
sorry,
Me
me
too
too.
moment.
Me too moment. I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there anything you'd like to share with us during our discussion phase?
I don't know if it's just me, if the cigars are longer, the drinks are shorter, but on my patio, they tend to be 2-drink cigars.
Too much information.
Back on topic. So as the council is aware, I am here to ask for the council to award a bid to Faro Technologies for us to purchase a 3D laser scanner. This is used for crime scenes and major accident scenes for mapping those, and it replaces some technology that we have that's become a little bit outdated.
Awesome.
And I'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, are there any questions? Any discussion? Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Roll call.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes,
Brunner.
Yes.
that was easy.
That was easy. Thank you. The next item is 5.4 on the agenda. This is to authorize the Nampa Family Justice Center to apply for a grant for a client support improvement project. Hi, Griselda.
Also, so move on that.
And I'll
Second.
think of that.
So it's been moved and seconded. Would you like to share
Yeah.
something with us?
Sure. So, in applying for this grant, we are wanting to finish out the basement at the Justice Center. So recently, with some of the move of the agencies that are currently there, they'll be moving out to the is it the FIB building?
Whatever we've decided
Whatever
to
you
call
decide
it.
to
yeah.
call it, yeah. So once everybody vacates down from the basement, it's going to leave the space. It's going to be usable, but it's not going to be usable for what I want it to be used for properly and in the best manner possible. I want the basement to be the space to be used for those agencies that are system-based, so state and state law and different ordinances, I guess, really dictate what those agencies do, where the upstairs of the building, I want it to be community-based. So everybody that comes in will be able to be served with community, and those that have to be served through the system will have a more private area, and it'll be secure, and just have some really good working space for those partners. So that is the funding that I'm requesting from CDBG for this improvement, and that will pretty much really finish what we want down in the basement. So this probably is going to be one of the last requests that I make in at least 3-4 years. That really is my goal, for this one to be one of the last. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, so
Keep up the
stay
good
there, yeah.
thank you.
So you're on next, so roll call.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes,
Brunner.
Yes.
So the next action item is 5.5 on the agenda, and this is to authorize the Nampa Family Justice Center to apply for a grant for emergency housing services.
So moved.
Second?
And this is to apply for the CDBG funds, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
That we've
for-
discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good. Are there any questions regarding this? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Griselda, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So the next action item is 5.6 on the agenda. This is to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign a task order with JUB Engineers for sampling station design and Indian Creek flow study for wastewater division.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
5.7 on the agenda is an action item to authorize the renewal of professional services term agreement, to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign the professional services term agreement, and to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign the task order amendment with Keller Associates for wastewater Phase Phase 1, Group B, solid handling upgrade services during construction for the wastewater division.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a question.
Okay?
Just curious, it said the reason for the delay was equipment procurement and coordination delays. I'd just like a few more details, if I could, on what that entailed.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and
Thanks.
Counselor.
Just wanted to make sure you stayed this long, you could talk, so.
No, this is great. This is, so where are we at? This is the Group B solids handling building out at the plant that started back in 2017.
Right.
So we're nearing the closing. We're on schedule. Originally, we were on schedule to complete in January. Right now, the contractor's working on getting all the final equipment hooked up. We have the equipment on site. It would be the centrifuges is the final piece. And there's some final coordination issues there that we're working out. And to keep our engineering team on board and get us to the end of the project, best guess from the contractor is we have another, about 3 months. What are we in April now? So 3 months will be closed out by June. In a couple more months, we'll be done with the project as far as up and running. So what's going on? A little more detail? I mean,
Well,
it's
I'm
just
just
messy.
wondering,
Construction's messy.
I
and-
realized the projection was February.
Yeah.
And so that's just what, I know, I mean, give you an example, over at NNU, we're doing new student commons, and it got 6 weeks delay because they couldn't get steel. So I'm just wondering, as far as equipment procurement or coordination, I mean, what was I guess my question, coordination delay, define that for me, what did that entail? What type of delays?
Yeah,
As far as,
there's-
between Keller and
Yeah.
the city, or what?
So, Counselor, it's a subcontractor, a vendor to JC Constructors. The centrifuges, these large equipment, spin around, dewater the solids so that we can haul them off. Those were about 12 months behind getting
Okay.
on site. And
That's
that's
what I
really
was wondering.
what
Okay.
created all this issue.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any further questions for Nate? Okay, we have had a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, roll call?
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Thank you, Nate. Item 5.8 on the agenda is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance amending the local limits for pre-treatment regulations, Title 8, Chapter 9, Section 4, subsection 14 of Nampa City Code, and it will be requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title 8, Chapter 9, Section 4, subsection 14, Nampa City Code pertaining to local limits for pre-treatment regulations, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Okay, I would stand for a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass preceding ordinances read under suspension of rules.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 5.9 on the agenda is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign an amendment to reimburse. It's a reimbursement agreement for sewer with Magellan Development. Did I say that right? Anyway, Magellan and Don Newell. So do we want Daniel? Daniel's waiting. Do I get up or do I not get up?
So move.
I'll second
Yeah, I
that.
felt like he needed some exercise also.
So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or is there any discussion? Victor?
Thank you.
Hearing none, roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 510, as per our previous amended agenda, has been removed from the agenda. Item 511 is an action item to authorize the installation of a no parking zone along both sides of Fifth Street North. It's northwest of First Avenue North, and authorize the City of Nampa staff to create and install the appropriate signage.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 512 on the agenda is to authorize the installation of a no parking zone along both sides of West Sanada Drive between West Toccola Street and North Midland Boulevard North, and authorize the City of Nampa staff to create and install appropriate signage.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions for Daniel? Seeing none, roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Item 513 is an action item to award a bid and authorize the mayor to sign a contract for Zone E sewer rehab, which is a fiscal 19 project with Planned and Engineered Construction, Inc., in the amount of $268,850.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions for Tom Points? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 514 on the agenda is an action item. This is a resolution for disposal of 2,482 square feet of surplus property located near the Elijah Drain and South Happy Valley Road.
So move.
Second.
Are there any questions for Darren on this property? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Item 515 is an action item. This is a funding request and a bid award and authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with HCD Incorporated for the Florida Idaho Center Pole Barn addition.
So move.
Second.
Any questions for Patrick? Seeing none, roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Patrick woke up.
Pole barn, really? Pole barn? Pardon? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Levi?
Yes.
Just saying.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
That concludes our new business items, and now we will move on to unfinished business, which is section 7 on the agenda.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're going to begin with item 7.1. This is an action item. It is requested to pass under suspension of rules. And actually, we can include item 7.2 in that same motion, which is to authorize the summary of publication for the preceding ordinance. And this is the first reading of ordinance for proposed Nampa City Code text amendments to sections of Nampa City Code Titles 6, 7, 9, and 10. ZTA-0009, 2019 0. Excuse me, not a 0.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title VI, Chapter 2, Section 6220 pertaining to canine licensing, amending Title 7, Chapter 2, 7, Section 7216 pertaining to stopping or parking prohibited in certain places, amending Title 9, Chapter 1, Section 919 pertaining to residing on a public right-of-way, amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 1012 pertaining to certain definitions, amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 1015 pertaining to content of applications, amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Sections 10118 pertaining to tables relating to vision clearance, amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 10119 pertaining to mini-storage facilities, amending Title 10, Chapter 2, Sections 10210 pertaining to facilities, amending Title 10, Chapter 2, 10210 pertaining to the requests of reconsiderations, amending Title 10, Chapter 3, Sections 103.2 pertaining to permitted uses, amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 10.4.5 pertaining to the dimensional and bulk requirements, amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 10.4.9 pertaining to landscape, amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Sections 10.4.10 pertaining to design standards, amending Title 10, Chapter 8, Section 10.8.5 pertaining to accessory structures, amending Title 10, Chapter 10, Chapter 8, Sections 10.8.6 pertaining to setback requirements, amending Title 10, Chapter 15, Sections 10.15.6 pertaining to downtown historic subdivisions, repealing Title 10, Chapter 15, Sections 10.15.9, amending Title 10, Chapter 16, Section 10.16.11 pertaining to design standards, amending Title 10, Chapter 21, Section 10.21.3 pertaining to agricultural animals, amending Title 10, Chapter 22, Section 10.22.4 pertaining to common shared parking facilities, amending Title 10, Chapter 22, Section 10.22.5 pertaining to parking area improvements, amending Title 10, Chapter 22, Sections 10.22.6 pertaining to special parking and landscape corridor districts, amending Title 10, Chapter 22, Section 10.22.7 pertaining to loading spaces, amending Title 10, Chapter 23, Sections 10.23.2 pertaining to certain definitions, amending Title 10, Chapter 23, Sections 23.8 pertaining to prohibited signs, amending Title 10, Chapter 23, Sections 10.23.20 containing reference tables, amending Title 10, Chapter 24, Sections 10.24.2 pertaining to the certain variances of actions, repealing and replacing Title 10, Chapter 25, Section 10.25.15 pertaining to conditional use expansions and modifications, amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Section 10.27.2 pertaining to preliminary plat applications, amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Section 10.27.4 pertaining to special subdivisions and developments, amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Section 27.6 pertaining to general development and improvements, amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Sections 27.12 pertaining to correcting, vacating, and amending plats, amending Title 10, Chapter 29, Section 29.3 pertaining to development standards, and amending Title 10, Chapter 33, Section 33.4 pertaining to corridors, landscaping, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Very good. Would anyone like to hear that again?
Please pass it under suspension of rules.
I would stand for a motion to pass items 7.1 and 7.2, which is to authorize the summary of publication for the preceding ordinance, and 7.1 is to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Item 7.3 is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for vacation of a reserved utility easement in the previously vacated 80 feet by 340 feet section of the right-of-way of Locust Street, located on the east side of Lot 7 through 12 in Block 180, west of Block 179, and south of the center line of the vacated right-of-way of East Georgia Avenue, all in the Kurtz Addition subdivision in Nampa, and the reserved utility easements in the 40 feet by 340-foot section of right-of-way of Juniper Street located west of the vacated east 40 feet right-of-way of Juniper Street and south of the center line of the vacated right-of-way of East Georgia Avenue on the east side of Block 179 of Kurtz Addition subdivision in Nampa, all in Kurtz Addition, located in Book 2, page 37 of the Canyon County Plats, Canyon County for Douglas Peterson, representing Sky Ridge Limited Partnership. The public hearing was on 4/1/2019, and it is requested that we pass this under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, vacating the reserve utility easement lying along the eastern and western boundaries of that certain parcel of real property commonly known as 412 East Hawaii Avenue, Nampa, Idaho, as more particularly described below in Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was the same, that was 7.3, right? In East Georgia, okay.
So move as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Who was the second?
Bruce?
Bruce, thank you.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
7.4 is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to RS6 for a single-family residential, 6,000 square feet for 92.72 acres, and to community business for 2.44 acres for Summit Ridge subdivision at the southwest corner of West Greenhurst Road and South Midland Boulevard, a 95.16 acre parcel of land situated in government lots 1 and 2 in the north one-half of the north one-quarter of Section 5, T2N R2WBM for M3 Companies, Mark Tate. And this was a public hearing was held on 3/18 of 2019, and there is a request to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance determining that certain lands lying on the south side of Greenhurst Road between South Midland Boulevard and South Middleton Road comprising of approximately 95.16 acres more or less lay contiguous to the city limits of the city of Nampa, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the city of Nampa, Idaho as part of the RS6 and BC zones, declaring that said lands by proper legal description and described below to be part of the city of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date, and directing the clerk of the city of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
Stand for a motion to approve vendor.
Make a motion to pass the preceding ordinance as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
No.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Item 7.5 on the agenda is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to RS7, single-family residential, 7,000 square feet at 0 Northside Boulevard for Kinghorn Place subdivision on the south side of Spruce Street, west of Northside Boulevard. This is a portion of southeast quarter of Section 33 T4N R2WBM for Trilogy Idaho / Corey Barton. This is the public hearing was on 3/18 of 2019, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
Make a motion, oh, sorry,
Needs to read it.
anxious, sorry.
An ordinance determining that certain lands lying on the west side of Northside Boulevard and north of Usick Road comprising of approximately 63.5 acres more or less lay contiguous to the city limits of the city of Nampa, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the city of Nampa, Idaho as part of the RS7 zone, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be part of the city of Nampa, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, directing the city engineer to alter the use in the City of Engineering, Planning, and Zoning to add said property to the official maps of the City of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, and orders part thereof conflict herewith, providing for an effective date, and directing the clerk of the City of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance and the map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, State of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63-215.
I make a motion to pass as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
So that concludes our unfinished business for this evening. Section 8 on the agenda is pending ordinances, and these are the ones that are postponed. But we just reduced that list tonight, which was great. So that's awesome. So the next item on the agenda is the motion to adjourn into executive session. We have 3 executive sessions this evening. So I would look for a motion that, to adjourn for each one of these. The first one is a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent, or public school student. 9.2 is a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061C to acquire an interest in real property that is not owned by a public agency. And 9.3 is a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061A to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, wherein the respective qualities of the individual are to be evaluated in order to fill a particular vacancy or need. This paragraph does not apply to filling a vacancy in an elective office or deliberations about staffing needs in general. So I would stand for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
And then it's almost all staff left, except for one. I would assume you guys will not be here when we adjourn, so thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for your commitment to be here. Thank you.